Chapter 37. Zhou Ding took Han Fei to an empty training ground and asked, "What's wrong with your spiritual energy? Why is it not drained?" Han Fei said honestly, "Sir, I absorb spiritual energy very fast. I can replenish my spiritual energy with a mouthful of fish soup." Zhou Ding said, "That's bull's asterisk it. I've never heard of such a physique before." Han Fei rolled his eyes and said, "Mr. Zhou, it's true. My master, Wang Jie, has heard of it before. Ask He Xiaoyu if you don't believe me. Her father is a teacher at the Eastern Campus." Zhou Ding looked at He Xiaoyu and the bamboo rod in her hand and frowned. "Is your father He Mingtang?" He Xiaoyu nodded quickly, hoping that the teacher would not tell her father what happened today. Zhou Ding asked, "What level is your real spiritual heritage?" Han Fei said, "I'm level 2, low quality." Zhou Ding said, "That's bull's asterisk it. Little girl, tell me." He Xiaoyu was rather stunned too. She remembered that Han Fei's spiritual heritage was level 1, high quality. How did it become level 2? Did Tang Ge give Han Fei some miraculous medicine? It did make sense. Spiritual heritage was said to be fixed at birth, and it could never be upgraded. It must be the effect of a top spiritual fruit that boosted Han Fei's spiritual heritage. He Xiaoyu nodded again. She was quite jealous and wished that she had a spiritual fruit too. Zhou Ding frowned even harder. "Even if your physique is extraordinary, your spiritual heritage is still limited. You've pissed off so many people today. Besides, it's not good to be too dependent on your special physique. What if something goes wrong with your physique one day? When you don't have that endless spiritual energy and can't perform the exaggerated spiritual energy explosion, what else can you do?" Han Fei nodded quickly. "You're right, Mr. Zhou. We're leaving. Get lost." Seeing that Han Fei and He Xiaoyu were driven away, Zhou Ding took a deep breath. It was appalling that such a physique existed in this world. It was a pity that while Han Fei had an unparalleled physique, it also limited his future achievements. With a spiritual heritage of level 2, low quality, he would never be a great fishing master even if he was lucky enough. Han Fei and He Xiaoyu left the school gloomily. The moment they got out of the school, they ran as fast as they could. "Are we still going to the Northern and Western military academies?" He Xiaoyu shook her head while running. No, we're lucky this time. We might not be so lucky next time." Han Fei realized that it made sense. Now that he was in someone else's territory, he was indeed too arrogant. But when he remembered the calabash of swallowed spirit soup, he asked in a hurry, "How much soup do we have?" He Xiaoyu's eyes flashed. 29 bowls in total." "Huh? Only 29 bowls? I feel like I've fought many of them." He Xiaoyu rolled her eyes. "What do you mean you beat a lot of them? You tricked a lot of them. The real fight was in the last battle, and this guy actually learned spiritual energy explosion." However, He Xiaoyu was not going to tell Han Fei anything. At least, her father told her not to consider this combat skill for anyone below level 7. In a certain corner, Han Fei and He Xiaoyu each carried a calabash, and Han Fei got 20 bowls. After all, he was the one who fought. But in the end, Zhou Ding estimated that he let them go easily for He Xiaoyu's father's sake, so Han Fei gave He Xiaoyu a little more. Halfway through the soup, Han Fei couldn't drink anymore and tried to find a topic. "He Xiaoyu, what's spiritual energy explosion? I felt that I couldn't control it just now. Thankfully, Mr. Zhou helped me, or there would have been dire consequences." He Xiaoyu asked, "How much spiritual energy did you gather just now?" Han Fei said, 70 or 80. "Pooh!" He Xiaoyu spurted out the soup in her mouth and looked at Han Fei, dumbfounded. "How much?" Seeing He Xiaoyu's reaction, Han Fei scratched his head in embarrassment. "Isn't it a bit too much?" He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei as if he were a lunatic. "You're level 6. How much spiritual energy do you have in total? Aren't you crazy to gather more than half of your spiritual energy for a fight?" He Xiaoyu asked, do you know how much spiritual energy Chen Kai used just now? Han Fei asked, how much? He Xiaoyu said, no more than 25 points. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Seriously? How can 25 points be so strong? Then wouldn't 80 points be enough to kill him? He Xiaoyu said, although you seem to have learned spiritual energy explosion, you don't know how to control it at all. So, even if you really fight with it, you can only overwhelm the enemy with spiritual energy. Your real control is very weak. Han Fei was immediately interested. How do I control it? Teach me. I gave you 9 bowls of fish soup. He Xiaoyu said, why don't you wait until level 7? Learning spiritual energy explosion at level 6 is actually not very useful. My father said that level 6 spiritual energy is not enough and not pure enough, and it's easy to run out. But level 7 is different. After level 7, fishers will have a certain control over spiritual energy. At that time, 1 point of spiritual energy explosion may be even more powerful than 2 points of spiritual energy explosion for regular level 6 fishers. At that time, this skill will be useful. Han Fei asked, huh? So powerful? Han Fei recalled that Chen Kai's performance was already very impressive. He was really shocked when he almost defeated Han Fei with a stick. Han Fei suddenly said, that's not right. I've fought level 7s before. You saw that guy from class 1, but he didn't use spiritual energy explosion. He Xiaoyu rolled her eyes. Can you use spiritual energy explosion on your classmate? If a level 7 expert uses spiritual energy explosion poorly, your life may be in danger. Rolling his eyes, Han Fei suddenly said to He Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu, somebody is trying to kill me. He Xiaoyu. Han Fei said, I suspect that somebody is trying to kill me. I've been on the sea for 5 days, right? The fishing boat was destroyed by someone. Han Fei talked a lot and then looked at He Xiaoyu, his eyes glittering. Can you teach me spiritual energy explosion? I'll trade the rest of the swallowed spirit soup for it. He Xiaoyu was lost for words at Han Fei's sympathy. She had gotten the swallowed spirit soup for nothing in the first place, and he wanted to trade it for spiritual energy explosion? He Xiaoyu said, I don't know how to. My father didn't let me learn it. Han Fei asked, why doesn't your father teach you anything? He doesn't teach you anything. Are you his son? He Xiaoyu immediately picked up the bamboo stick and poked Han Fei. Of course I'm his son. Why don't you believe me? Han Fei shouted, hey hey hey! Stop! Rather annoyed by the girl's weakness, Han Fei immediately scolded her, which gave He Xiaoyu a fright. Han Fei said, just because your father doesn't let you practice it doesn't mean that you can't. Do you have the determination to be an expert? Cultivators like us must know how to defy the natural order. Fine, if you have a solution, I can trade treasures for it. Han Fei thought that He Xiaoyu would ask him what treasures he had curiously. But He Xiaoyu simply pouted her lips. You're mean to me. You're mean to me. Han Fei. Therefore, amazing creatures such as women did not need to be differentiated by size. When a woman felt wronged, if it was a man who wronged her, you're mean to me would represent all her thoughts at this moment. Han Fei drank the swallowed spirit soup silently. It seemed that he wouldn't recover any time soon. He Xiaoyu nagged, you're mean to me. You want me to steal things, and you don't believe my father. More importantly, you're mean to me. Han Fei couldn't drink the soup anymore. He immediately took out a small bottle and said, I'll trade with you. He Xiaoyu's aggrieved face immediately changed, and her eyes widened. Is this the iron fish body polishing fluid? He Xiaoyu gasped hard. The iron fish body polishing fluid was made of the brains of ironhead fish. It was said that dozens of adult ironhead fish were needed to refine one tiny bottle of the iron fish body polishing fluid. Han Fei had such a good stuff. He Xiaoyu extended her hand and tried to grab it. Han Fei hurried to withdraw his hand. Well, about spiritual energy explosion. He Xiaoyu snorted and glared at Han Fei. I really don't know how to do that, but it's not entirely beyond my control. In fact, spiritual energy explosion is about the control of spiritual energy. As long as you have enough control over your own spiritual energy explosion will be very simple. Han Fei asked in a hurry, how do you control it? He Xiaoyu said, I don't know. You just need to make more use of your spiritual energy. For example, the process of fishing, casting, reeling, and retracting are all forms of control. If you want insights on the use of spiritual energy explosion, 1 bottle of the iron fish body polishing fluid is far from enough. Besides, you only have half a bottle. Han Fei was even more tempted. Although the iron fish body polishing fluid was also a treasure, it was far from comparable to spiritual energy explosion. That thing was a life-saving technique for him. He had to get it. Han Fei said gently, He Xiaoyu, are we good friends? He Xiaoyu said warily, no. Han Fei said, you're here to challenge me? If your father learns of this, TSK. He Xiaoyu said, I'm just passing by. Fine, what do you want? Han Fei said cunningly, well, can you give me a copy of your insights on spiritual energy control? I'll share them with you as soon as I find anything good. No. Han Fei said gently, He Xiaoyu, the fishing trial is around the corner. It doesn't matter who your father is in the trial. How about I give you a spirit refilling pill? You have a spirit refilling pill? He Xiaoyu exclaimed. Han Fei asked, how about it? He Xiaoyu hesitated. But, Han Fei said, okay, that's enough. 2. He Xiaoyu said, no, my father. Chapter 38. He Xiaoyu eventually agreed. Han Fei found that the girl was a money grubber. It had to be because her father was too strict with her, especially on her cultivation. Her father had been very strict with He Xiaoyu in order to raise her into a great fishing master. As a result, the girl craved for good stuff. At this moment, He Mingtang was teaching a class at school. The two of them snuck to He Xiaoyu's house. Half an hour later, He Xiaoyu ran out of the house in panic. He Xiaoyu guiltily covered a booklet and said, here you go. This is all I found. Let's go. We'll be doomed if my mother finds out. Han Fei put on a mysterious smile. Good job. I'll share more swallowed spirit soup with you later. At the gate of the school, both of them had smiles on their faces. He Xiaoyu had received 3 spirit refilling pills, and Han Fei had learned how to use spiritual energy. Both of them felt that they had benefited greatly. He Xiaoyu. Suddenly, a stern reprimand came from behind the school gate. Ah, Dad. He Mingtang's eyes were almost bursting with fury. He looked at his worthless daughter and glared at Han Fei maliciously. Han Fei, on the other hand, was not much better. The smile on his face was completely frozen. Seeing Wang Jie's unfriendly face and the teacher next to Wang Jie, he changed his face and shouted at He Xiaoyu, run! Wang Jie was so angry that he laughed. Now you remember to run? What were you doing earlier? Then, Wang Jie cast his fishing hook at Han Fei quickly. Han Fei felt the malice coming from behind him. His body twisted involuntarily into a strange posture and the fish hook brushed past his shoulder. The 3 fishing masters, including He Mingtang, all exclaimed in shock. How could a level 6 fisher dodge Wang Jie's fishing hook? Wang Jie was elected as a law enforcer of the regular fisheries because of his extraordinary strength. As a late-stage fishing master in his 30s, it was possible that he could become a great fishing master before he was 40. How could his fishing hook be dodged? Wang Jie felt rather embarrassed. With a flash of spiritual energy on the fishing line, the hook was twisted and darted at Han Fei at a higher speed. Han Fei sweated. I just went to get a few bowls of fish soup. Do they have to greet me like this? While he was thinking, his body flipped on the spot, narrowly dodging the fish hook again. Wang Jie's old face suddenly turned red, but he was astonished in his heart. How could this kid be so flexible? Zhou Ding said in surprise. Old Wang, this student is quite interesting. He might be able to make it to the top 100 of the fishing trial, right? Wang Jie coldly snorted and said, Him? Top 100? Just don't be at the bottom. This time, Wang Jie did not hold back. The speed of the hook multiplied. Even though Han Fei managed to evade the hook with one leg, the end result was that the hook twisted and bound his other leg. As the fishing line was retracted, Han Fei was dragged all the way to the school gate, which attracted a lot of attention. Wang Jie, kid, do you think your wings have hardened and you're floating? Seeing this scene, He Xiaoyu was scared. Fortunately, she did not run away, or it would be embarrassing for a girl to be dragged like this. Han Fei, on the other hand, shouted, Sir, I'm innocent. I only went to the southern campus to communicate with my classmates. Wang Jie said to Zhou Ding with a smile, Mr. Zhou, thank you for the trip. I'll definitely teach this kid a lesson. Zhou Ding, on the other hand, laughed. That's not necessary. I think the kid is not bad. Why don't you come to the southern campus to study? Wang Jie said, That won't be necessary. The fishing trial is drawing near, and our school is preparing to concentrate on training. We don't have time to go to the southern campus. Zhou Ding smiled. Okay, I'll be going back now. Wang Jie said, See you, Mr. Qin. After Zhou Ding left, Wang Jie's face changed. He grabbed Han Fei and sneered, What's so good about you? You blocked the gate of the southern campus and showed off your abilities. Are you asking to be killed? Do you think you can do whatever you want as a level 8 fisher? Do you think that nobody can stop you? Han Fei said, Sir, I'm not. I didn't know that the southern campus was so weak. Wang Jie sneered, Weak? Do you think that you were strong before? If it weren't for the things that Tengu left for you, would you have been as strong as you are today? Do you know how many people will have their eyes on you when you reveal this strength? Han Fei was stunned. Who would target a level 6 fisher? Before Wang Jie said anything, He Mingtang had already said, Everybody knows that you improve so fast because Tengu was favored by the angels and prepared a lot of good things for you. They dare not piss off Tengu, but it's not difficult for them to kill you and dig out your secret. He Mingtang made up his mind that his daughter would never hang out with this guy again, or God knew how much trouble he would cause. Seeing that Han Fei was stunned, Wang Jie said, Do you understand now? Nobody dares to touch Tengu, but nobody dares to touch you? You'll be grounded for 3 days. Reflect on yourself. Han Fei smiled bitterly. He had forgotten about that. He had been improving his strength quickly under Tang Ji's name, but his performance had been too outstanding recently. But his recent performance was so outstanding that people couldn't help but wonder if Tengu had left some opportunities for Han Fei. Han Fei said, Sir, I was wrong. I won't fight again. But the confinement, Wang Jie sneered, 3 days. Not a moment less. Han Fei was taken away by Wang Jie. He Mingtang glared at He Xiaoyu. Go home and stay in the house for 5 days. He Xiaoyu said pitifully, Dad, I didn't fight. He Mingtang said, Go back. Don't have anything to do with this guy before he becomes a fishing master. He Xiaoyu pouted and said pitifully, Okay. There was only one confinement room in the school. It was mainly used to punish some special bad students, but most of them would only be locked up for 1 day. It was rare to see someone locked up for 3 days like Han Fei. The confinement room was made of hard black stones. Although it was not a problem for fishing masters, it was a serious problem for fishers. 3 days ago, Han Fei was dragged to the confinement room by Wang Jie like a dead dog. That was the biggest topic in the past few days. Someone said angrily, Scoundrels are too arrogant. I'm told that Han Fei blocked the gate of the southern campus. He was asking to be killed. Someone teased, I'm told that he wouldn't have come back if the teachers of the southern campus hadn't let him go. Many people went over to take a look when they passed by the confinement room. Unfortunately, The confinement room was too dark and they couldn't see anything. However, Han Fei kept hearing people sneering at the door, making fun of him. Zhou Xiao, one of Hu Kuan's best friends, was crouching at the gap of the confinement room. He said sarcastically, "Hey, Han Fei, are you having a mental breakdown?" Someone joked, "He's not scared to death, but let's see if he dares to be arrogant again. Does a guy who relies on external forces really think he's destined?" In the confinement room, Han Fei was sitting cross-legged. His clothes were soaked and the spiritual energy in his body was running around. Even after 3 days, it was difficult for him to control the spiritual energy accurately and freely. At this moment, he could barely control it. At this moment, Han Fei was trying to concentrate half of his spiritual energy in his palm. No, half is too much. Not good. I'm going to lose control. Outside the confinement room, Zhou Xiao and the others sensed that something was wrong. They discussed, Do you feel that spiritual energy is surging? It seems a little. Could it be that Han Fei is cultivating? Nonsense. Why isn't the spiritual energy glowing when it's so intense? Wait, look, it's glowing. Outside the confinement room, they suddenly sensed that a dazzling light burst out. Zhou Xiao and the others didn't know what was going on. They felt that they were flying. An intense explosion spread throughout the school. Many people saw Zhou Xiao and the others flying, only to pass out in the next second. A whole half the height of a grown man had been blown out of the confinement room. Almost at the same time, dozens of teachers from the school arrived. When Wang Jie and the others arrived, they checked Zhou Xiao and the others first. Then, they took a long breath in relief and said, "Send them for treatment." Then, the teachers looked solemnly at the big hole in the door of the confinement room, from which there was a rustling sound. Then, everybody saw Han Fei crawl out of the hole with a dirty face and a bird's nest hairstyle. Han Fei thought to himself that he had underestimated the power of the spiritual energy explosion. It was too powerful. Half of his spiritual energy was 110 points, but it was still so powerful. What if he used all his spiritual energy? The entire confinement room would be blown up. Wang Jie and the others' eyelids twitched. How could this guy be fine under such power? Chapter 39. In the office, Han Fei stood there with his hair in a bird's nest, his eyes rolling. Wang Jie said solemnly, "Speak. Who taught you spiritual energy explosion?" This time, nobody thought that it was Tang Go who taught Han Fei the basics of spiritual energy explosion. Last time, the teacher of the southern campus made it clear that Han Fei learned it from his opponent in a fight and knew nothing about spiritual energy explosion. Han Fei said, "Sir, I was in seclusion for 3 days and had an epiphany." Pa Wang Jie slapped Han Fei's head. "You're too shameless. You were supposed to be locked up for 3 days, but you said that you were in seclusion for 3 days. T. Spiritual energy explosion is a technique that requires proficiency. Was it you who comprehended it?" Han Fei said, "Sir, I really figured it out on my own. I've been locked up for 3 days. Wang Jie was lost for words. That's right. The boy was locked up the moment he returned to school. Did he really figure it out on his own? However, He Mingtang, who was in the same office, was gloomy. He felt that something was wrong. His daughter had been hiding from him in the past few days. Was there really no connection between them? Wang Jie did not think too much. He simply criticized. "Brat, do you know why spiritual energy explosion is not taught below level 7? Firstly, it's because you don't have enough spiritual energy. Secondly, your veins are not strong enough. And thirdly, you need proficiency to practice spiritual energy explosion. Spiritual energy explosion is the simplest of all techniques, but have you ever seen a fisher below level 7 use it?" Han Fei lowered his head and gnashed his teeth. "You like hitting my head, don't you? Fine, fine, fine. I'll blow up your head when I'm awesome. My veins are not strong enough. No wonder my arm was sore and my veins seemed to be torn apart when I used it just now. So, my veins were not strong enough? Then, didn't I only need to strengthen my veins? Han Fei, I'm here. Pa, do you take my words as a passing wind? How dare you be absent-minded? Han Fei grinned and secretly cursed. Wang Jie, you bastard! Just wait and see. I'll slap your head away one day. The moment he left the office, he went home to get the ghost bead. The essence of the ghost blade clam was all contained in a ghost bead, which could strengthen one's veins and meridians. If the effect was really good, it wouldn't be a problem for him to have more spiritual energy. After what happened last time, Han Fei became more cautious, fearing that he would be targeted, so he kept a low profile along the way. At this moment, Han Fei was hiding behind a big tree and looking around to see if he had been discovered. Little friend, are you Han Fei? Suddenly, someone behind Han Fei spoke, which scared Han Fei out of his wit. He immediately raised his purple bamboo rod. Little friend, don't panic. I mean you no harm. When Han Fei took a closer look, he saw that it was a burly man who looked like a calf. However, this man did not look like a simple and honest person. There were 3 scars on the muscular man's face. One pierced through half of his face, another pierced through one of his eyes, and the last one was even more terrifying. His mouth had actually been torn open. Even though it had already healed, it still looked terrifying. Han Fei asked, "Who are you?" The strong man put on a smile that was uglier than crying. I'm Li Ju, the leader of the tigers. A few days ago, my men were arrogant and willful and offended you. I hope you can let bygones be bygones. If you need anything, as long as the tigers can give it to you, we will never be stingy. Han Fei knew that he was here to apologize. The tigers must have learned of his relationship with Tang Go, so the leader of the tigers came to apologize in person. If this matter had not been made public, the tigers could have killed him. Unfortunately, they missed the opportunity and failed to catch him. Since they missed the opportunity, they had to make up for it. Han Fei breathed a sigh of relief. So it's you, Leader Li. Since you've come in person, of course I'll forgive you. However, a few days ago, Brother Gang and the others provoked me several times. Please restrain them, Leader Li. Otherwise, the reputation of the tigers will be greatly damaged. Li Ju grinned ferociously. Of course, little friend, you will never see them in the heavenly water town again. Han Fei was shocked. What did he mean? They were all dead? He had heard that the tigers had done a lot of evil things, and many people who offended them were thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Now he saw them in person. He didn't expect Li Ju to be so cruel. However, Han Fei rolled his eyes and was almost scared by this guy. If he was not strong-willed, who would dare to continue to make trouble for the tigers? Who would dare to ask for compensation after being scared by Li Ju and nodding like a chicken pecking rice? Considering that this matter had been made public, Han Fei immediately sneered. Leader Li, my brother left me dozens of bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid, but when I returned that day, I found that they were all missing. Leader Li, do you think? Han Fei felt that the air suddenly became quiet, as if bursts of killing intent appeared out of thin air. Looking at Li Ju's ferocious face, he wondered if this guy still wanted to kill him. Han Fei didn't believe that if he dared to kill him in this case, not only Tang Gu would not let him go, but also the teachers in the school. Sure enough, after looking at each other for a while, Li Ju said with a smile, "Of course. It's my fault. I'll give them all to you later." Han Fei nodded. "There's nothing else, except for some mid-quality pearls and a few spirit refilling pills." The air was quiet again. Even Li Ju himself felt a little shocked and wanted to kill Han Fei. This kid is so ungrateful. The iron fish body polishing fluid is precious, not to mention the spirit refilling pills, which are life-saving pills. How dare you ask for them? Han Fei looked at Li Ju quietly, looking harmless. He really didn't believe that Li Ju dared to kill him. Li Ju gritted his teeth. "Okay, the tigers will compensate you. Please take care, little friend." Han Fei grinned and said, Goodbye, Bosley. After a while, Li Ju appeared in place, looking coldly in the direction where Han Fei left. Suddenly, he punched the big tree next to him. The huge tree body actually broke with a sound. Someone next to Li Ju looked unfriendly. Leader, this kid has gone too far. This is extortion. I'm willing to. Shut up. Li Ju calmed down and said, money is just a worldly possession. The most important thing is to survive. Tengu can't stay here for long. After the awakening, he will leave. I don't know when I can come back. Let's see how arrogant this kid is. Han Fei was in a good mood. Dozens of bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid. The tigers are so rich. It will be easier for me to practice the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing in the future. He had to admit that the tigers were very fast. The things he asked for in the morning were delivered in the afternoon. Han Fei checked them. There were 10 bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid, 50 mid-quality pearls, and 5 spirit refilling pills. Damn you, Li Ju. Han Fei trembled with anger. I said dozens of bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid, not 10. And 5 spirit refilling pills? Do you think I'm a beggar? But Han Fei really wronged Li Ju. How could the iron fish body polishing fluid be so easy to get? And the spirit refilling pills, which were useless in his eyes, were life-saving pills in the eyes of others. 5 of them was already enough to make him vomit blood. Han Fei kept complaining, old bastard, you're so stingy. Fine, I'm so easily satisfied. I'll make do with them for now. Fortunately, Li Ju didn't hear Han Fei's complaints. Otherwise, he might have slapped him to death on the spot. In the cave, Han Fei pinched the ghost bead. This bead was said to be able to warm and expand meridians. He didn't know how effective it was, but he swallowed it without hesitation. After a while, the effect of the ghost bead was not too magical. Han Fei only felt that the meridians all over his body were a little cold, a bit like the feeling of taking an intravenous drip. After a full hour, Han Fei felt that his meridians might be a little stronger, because some unknown impurities oozed out of his skin. No, I thought this thing would be very powerful, but it turns out that it's not very effective. It seems that I have to take at least 5 or 7 of them together. Fortunately, others didn't know what Han Fei was thinking at the moment, or they would definitely beat him to death. A precious medicine that could strengthen meridians was hard to come by, but this guy thought it was not very effective. 3 days later, in a certain cave on the floating island of Heavenly Water Town, a crackling sound rang out. A youth was lying on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. The youth's clothes were drenched and he was gasping for breath. Who knew what he had just experienced? Phew, I've finally made it. Ha ha ha, this time I should be really invincible among my peers. Han Fei looked at the data. Owner Han Fei level 6, intermediate fisher, spiritual energy greater than 1288, 249, spiritual heritage level 2, low quality, upgradable, weapon purple bamboo rod main art void fishing, chapter 1. Hook kiss, mortal level, divine quality. He had already felt the bottleneck. Sure enough, his spiritual energy was stuck at 249 points. Han Fei felt that he could make a breakthrough, but a breakthrough required a lot of spiritual energy, and his consumption of spiritual energy was a bit high. Chapter 40. At the port. Huh? I can't go to sea? Sister Qin said, given that you encountered 2 fish tides in a row and your fishing boat was damaged, the inspectors think that you may have offended someone, so you are not allowed to go to sea for now. There are only 9 days left before your fishing trial. I suggest you consolidate your cultivation during this period. Han Fei asked, have you found the culprit? Sister Qin said, no evidence, but we have reason to suspect that the tigers did this. The tigers? Han Fei's eyes turned cold. He was not surprised to know the answer at all. How could an ordinary person destroy a fishing boat in a place like the port without being noticed? In this way, The things he blackmailed from Li Ju seemed not worth mentioning at all. Okay, Sister Qin, I'll go back first. Since he couldn't go to sea, he had no source of spiritual energy, which was intolerable to Han Fei. In the market, all kinds of food stalls had begun to advertise and people were shuttling back and forth. Suddenly, Han Fei heard someone shouting, "Water, water, clean rainwater. 20 sea coins per caddy. Buy now. Only 500 caddies." Someone bargained, "Boss, 20 sea coins? That's too expensive. Didn't it rain a few days ago? Your asking price is too high." Someone echoed, "Old Qin, 18 caddies per caddy. Give me 10 caddies." Old Qin chuckled. "Expensive? The last time it rained was half a month ago. I had to squeeze out 500 caddies myself. Besides, the sea has been calm recently. The next time it rains may be half a month later. The water will only get more and more expensive. 20 sea coins per caddy, no bargaining. Buy it if you want it." The crowd was slightly quiet. Then someone said, "Fine, Old Qin, give me 20 caddies. Give me 10 caddies. Give me 50 caddies." Dumbfounded, Han Fei watched that 500 caddies of water were sold out in only 2 minutes. He couldn't help but gasp. Wasn't it too fast to make money? He made a mid-quality pearl in just a few minutes. Was water so valuable nowadays? It made sense. The floating islands were not connected to the earth veins but flew in the sky without source water. They could only form rain through the evaporation of the sea. But unexpectedly, the rainfall here didn't seem to be too frequent, which led to a serious shortage of water resources. But the seawater resources here are endless. Wouldn't he be rich by making distilled water? While he was thinking, he passed by a beggar. Wait, something's not right. Levitating island. Everyone was cultivating. Where did this beggar come from? The beggar's face was covered in dirt, and he was holding a broken bowl and swaying it back and forth. However, the moment the beggar saw Han Fei, he stepped back in horror, got up, and tried to run away. "Stop, don't move." The beggar quickly begged for mercy. "Young master, please spare my life. I've already been kicked out." Han Fei was stunned. "Are you Brother Gang?" The beggar shook his head. "Xiao Gang, you can just call me Xiao Gang." "Han Fei, you're not dead." Hearing this, Li Gang's legs trembled. "So you really want me to die?" Since learning that Han Fei was Tang Ji's brother, Brother Gang's lackeys were all dead. Brother Gang had to spend all of his family's assets to barely survive. But he was still hung on a pole by the tigers for 3 days. Fortunately, he used to be a nobody in the East City. Many people knew him, so he didn't end up being killed. But even so, he was kicked out of the tigers by Li Ju, and his heart was broken. At this moment, he had less than 10% of his strength, which was quite miserable. Li Gang hugged Han Fei's leg and said, "Young master, please spare me. I can't die. Little Red is still waiting for me to raise her. If I die, Little Red will be taken away by others." Han Fei shrugged. "Who wants to kill you? I'm very kind." Li Gang secretly complained, "You're not kind at all. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this today." Han Fei asked, "Were you kicked out of the tigers?" Li Gang nodded miserably, and there was still fear in his eyes. He couldn't afford to offend Han Fei now. Han Fei had an idea. "How about this? How about you follow me in the future? I'll take you to eat and drink well." Huh. Li Gang suspected that he had heard wrong. "He won't kill me? Is he kidding me?" Han Fei shrugged. "What? How about this, clean yourself up and come to my house to find me. I happen to be short of manpower now. I'll give you the opportunity. It's up to you whether you can seize it or not." Although Li Gang was a gangster, he was also very cunning. Could he follow Han Fei? Of course, his brother was Tango. When a man became a Taoist, so would Han Fei have a bad life in the future? Obviously not. But what did he have that caught Han Fei's attention? Did he want him to collect protection fees? Thinking of the 2 times he was robbed by Han Fei, Li Gang thought it was very possible. Half an hour later, Li Gang came, but his face was pale, which showed that he was seriously injured, but his dirty face had been cleaned up. When Li Gang came, Han Fei was fiddling with some bottles and pots, and even took out the big pot at home. Li Gang didn't know what he was doing. Seeing Li Gang, Han Fei asked without raising his head, "How much strength do you have left?" Li Gang trembled. About the same as a level 2 fisher. Li Gang wanted to die. Did he want to become a beggar? Of course not, but fishing with the strength of a level 2 fisher would be courting death. Han Fei raised his head in surprise. "Ha! Are you crippled?" Li Gang's face was ugly. "Not really. It's just that this kind of recovery pill is too expensive. It's worth up to 10 mid-quality pearls," Han Fei sneered. "That's why I said that if you work for bad guys, you will be ruthlessly abandoned at any time." With that, Han Fei took out a dozen mid-quality pearls and placed them in front of Li Gang. "I can help you heal your injuries, but don't betray me. However, you can't betray me. Otherwise, you won't just be injured. Your lil red might really be snatched away by someone else." Li Gang's eyes were full of disbelief. A dozen mid-quality pearls were for him? Li Gang's heart warmed up and he immediately burst into tears. "Young master, I, Li Gang, am yours from now on. If you ask me to hunt iron headfish, I will never hunt spirit-swallowing fish." Han Fei waved his hand and said, "Okay, don't call me young master. Call me young master from now on. Tell me, is there any seasonings on our island?" "What seasonings?" "It's a seasoning that can make food more delicious. For example, salt." Han Fei hadn't had a decent meal since he came to this world. Almost everything he ate was salted, but salt alone was useless. Could salt get rid of the fishy smell of seafood? Li Gang was suddenly enlightened. "Young master, you mean spices. But spices are things that only the rich can afford." Han Fei's eyes lit up. "Really?" Li Gang nodded. "Yes, but ordinary people generally don't eat them. Most spices can only be bought with mid-quality pearls." Han Fei was a little disappointed. That was too expensive. He had planned to open a barbecue stall and sell some distilled water, but the price of spices was so high that he could only make some for himself. "What about wine?" Li Gang said, "Wine is cheap. The fish head wine is only 30 sea coins per caddy." "Young master, do you want to drink wine?" "Let's go. Show me the spices first." On the south side of the floating island near the cliff, there was a plantation of 1,000 acres. Looking at the flourishing vegetation here, Han Fei asked in surprise, "Are there farmers on the island?" Li Gang scratched his head. "That's not it. I heard that in the beginning, there were people in the town who came to plant spiritual herbs. Maybe because our island's environment isn't good, they couldn't grow them. In the end, all the spiritual herbs degenerated, and many of them became spices. But even so, many people think that spices are also spiritual herbs, so spices are very expensive." The plantation was guarded by an old man who was basking in the sun with a jar of wine in his hand. He didn't seem to see Han Fei and Li Gang at all. Han Fei stepped forward. "Grandpa, we're here to buy spices." The old man opened one eye and glanced at Han Fei. Then he continued to bask in the sun and said unhurriedly, "You can't afford it." Han Fei's face was gloomy. "Why can't I afford it? I still have 50 mid-quality pearls." The old man raised his hand and pointed at a wooden shelf not far away. "They're all over there. 1 mid-quality pearl for each." Han Fei walked over curiously, only to be dumbfounded at first glance. Chapter 41. Han Fei was shocked. Could there be similar plants in the universe? Although the strawberry looked as big as a fist, it was clearly a strawberry. No matter how big it grew, it was still a strawberry. Li Gang introduced, "Young master, this is a red fruit. I bought it before. I thought it was a spiritual fruit based on its color, but it doesn't have any reaction at all. It's just delicious." Li Gang smacked his lips as he introduced it. Unfortunately, it was too extravagant to trade a mid-quality pearl for a strawberry, so he could only stare at it. Han Fei chuckled. It would be strange if you had any reaction after eating it. Since when did strawberries become spiritual fruits? When Han Fei took a closer look, he was speechless. What was in it? He saw figs the size of apples, raisins the size of fists, dates, persimmons, peaches, cherries. They were all several times bigger. There were also a lot of flowers. After searching for a long time, Han Fei found a few that he recognized, such as roses, crabapples, kaffir lilies, chrysanthemums, peonies. In terms of color, any of them would be the most precious of treasures on earth. There were almost 1,000 species on the way, and Han Fei recognized almost 100 of them. Wait, potatoes? Han Fei's eyes glittered, as he found a potato the size of a watermelon. There were potatoes in this alternate world. Then, Han Fei saw carrots, yams, peanuts, red peppers, garlic, shoot garlic. Looking at the garlic the size of a finger, Han Fei immediately thought of garlic crayfish and swallowed. Unfortunately, to Han Fei's disappointment, everything here was sold individually. How could he afford it? He even felt that even the village leader might not be able to afford it. Then, he found dozens of other plants that he knew one after another. Those were just the ones he knew. There were 1,000 more that he didn't know. Breathing quickly, Han Fei came to the old man and asked, "Grandpa, what if you can't sell these spices?" The old man smacked his lips lazily and gulped down a mouthful of wine. After a few sips, he said lazily, "If I can't sell them, I'll just throw them to the ground. They'll grow back." Han Fei was dumbfounded. "If you can't sell them, you'll just throw them to the ground? Isn't that a waste?" The old man opened his eyes and glanced at Han Fei. "You want them? Give me the money." "Not so many." The old man waved his hand. "Go away if you don't have money. Don't disturb my sleep." Han Fei's face was dark. It was not his style to return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain. He was almost certain that this old man was no ordinary person. Otherwise, this place would have been robbed long ago. How could it be like this, with not a single person in sight? After a long silence, Han Fei said, "Grandpa, I see that no one cares about your garden. Do you want me to give you a hand?" Without opening his eyes, O.L. Amos said, "Kid, come back when you awaken your spiritual beast." Han Fei squinted. "Okay." On the way back, Han Fei looked back many times. Garlic, clams, prawns. Just thinking about it made his mouth water. It would have been fine if he didn't know that there were such things in this world before, but now that he knew, he definitely couldn't give up. After all, he still had to stay in this godforsaken place for a long, long, long time. Li Gang was baffled. "Young master, this old man is very arrogant. Should we go and teach him a lesson? Also, the spiritual fruits don't have any effect at all. Are you really going to farm for this old man?" Han Fei asked. "Teach him a lesson? Gangzi, do you know what gangsters are most afraid of?" Han Fei said, "They're most afraid of mistakes. I can guarantee that if you dare to teach this old man a lesson, he can throw you into the ocean from the floating island with one hand." "What? That's not going to happen. I've never heard of this old man fighting anyone." Too lazy to explain to him, Han Fei simply asked, "Gangzi, how do you think I can make money quickly?" Li Gang replied without thinking, "Collect protection fees. Get lost." Han Fei pondered as he walked. If he couldn't go to sea, he couldn't have fish tides, and if he couldn't have fish tides, he couldn't absorb spiritual energy. Although he still had 10 bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid, he dared not use them. What if he couldn't suppress himself and made a breakthrough after he reached the peak of level 6? He didn't have that enormous amount of spiritual energy. As for the school, he couldn't drink the swallowed spirit soup anymore. Did he have to buy fish from the market? No, that's too extravagant. Alas, I really want to open a barbecue stall. Han Fei took a deep breath. Forget it. There's only one way. Gang Z, go buy wine. Li Gang asked, Young master, how many caddies do you want? Try 100 caddies first. Pooh, Li Gang was stunned. What? 100 caddies? Han Fei said, just buy it. Yes, young master. One day later, Han Fei finally made a jar of hard liquor. The alcohol content on the floating island was very low. Although he didn't know how to ferment it with fish heads, as long as it was liquor, he could always purify it. So, after a day of hard work, a jar of liquor with a high alcohol content was made. Han Fei said, Gang Z, come here. Li Gang had recovered 30% of his strength. He swooshed over to Han Fei. Young master. Han Fei said, have a taste of this wine. Li Gang didn't know what Han Fei was doing. Anyway, he knew that the 100 caddies of wine he bought were now only 40 caddies. When Han Fei poured the wine out, a burst of fragrance greeted his nose, and Li Gang's eyes lit up. Young master, this wine smells so good. Li Gang picked up the bowl and enjoyed it for a while. Then he drank all the wine in the bowl in one gulp. Ah! Ouch! Roar! It's burning! Li Gang looked horrified. He felt that Han Fei was trying to kill him, and his throat was almost spewing fire. But why did it feel a little good? After dozens of seconds, Li Gang was panting and his face was red. Young master. Bam! Seeing Li Gang's head fall to the ground, Han Fei nodded in satisfaction. Hey, does that old man like to drink? In the plantation, Han Fei walked in with a pot of 20 caddies of wine. There was still only an old man basking in the sun. Pop! Han Fei lifted the lid of the wine, and the fragrance of the wine immediately spread. The old man who had been lazily basking in the sun suddenly bounced up and stared at Han Fei with narrowed eyes. Is this wine? Han Fei grinned. Grandpa, I specially brought it for you. Have a taste? The old man quickly picked up the wine jar, sniffed it, and immediately became spirited. Good wine. With that, the old man raised his head and took a sip, which made Han Fei's eyebrows jump. This old man was really wild. Ah! Ultra-quality wine. Where did you find this wine? At this moment, the old man was completely different from before, looking at Han Fei expectantly. Han Fei said, Don't worry about where I got it. Anyway, in the entire Heavenly Water Village, only I have it. The old man smiled. Not just in the Heavenly Water Village, you can't find such good wine even in the city. Han Fei's eyes narrowed. In the city? This old man was really not an ordinary person. According to He Xiaoyu, even the village leader had only been to the town. Few people in the entire Heavenly Water Village had been to the city. Blushing, the old man drank another mouthful of wine and said, Tell me, boy, what do you want from me? Han Fei said, I want to exchange this wine for your spices, Grandpa. The old man nodded and said, This is indeed rare wine. I've never seen such strong wine in my life. It's a treasure. In that case, I'll give you 100 kilograms of it. Han Fei felt surprised. Good heavens, a big strawberry cost a mid-quality pearl yesterday, and now it's 100 kilograms? Okay. Han Fei immediately took out a big bag from his back, walked to the red pepper and garlic, and dug into the bag. The old man exclaimed in surprise, Little child, these two things are not delicious. One is so spicy that you want to spit fire, and the other has a pungent smell. The red fruit, on the other hand, is sweet and sour and tastes first class. Han Fei didn't care but raised his head and asked, Grandpa, do you have ginger here? What is it? Well, they grow underground, and when you dig them up, they're all yellow. The old man understood. Are you talking about the yellow ball? Isn't the yellow ball over there? Han Fei saw that the old man pointed at the potato and quickly shook his head. It's flatter than that. Flat. The old man looked at Han Fei in surprise. Are you talking about the tongue numbness? That thing is not delicious. My tongue will go numb when I eat it. I didn't dig it in the ground. But how do you know about the tongue numbness? Han Fei grinned. You don't have to worry about that. I'll bring it to you when I'm done. The old man narrowed his eyes. You want to refine medicine? I'm afraid you can't. These are all spiritual flowers and fruits of the lowest quality. They are almost useless for the human body. Even if they can be refined into pills, the effect won't be much better. Han Fei said, You'll know when the time comes. Under the guidance of the old man, Han Fei dug 100 kilograms of ginger, peppers, and garlic. Chapter 42. At the departure port. In the center of the bazaar, Han Fei spent 10 mid-quality pearls to rent a booth. It was obvious that every inch of land here was extremely valuable. At this moment there was a sign erected here, attracting the attention of countless people. Someone said disdainfully, Oh, you sure talk big. #1 delicacy in the world? Are you bragging? One of the other vendors sneered, Have you been to the world? You still call this the most delicious food in the world? Someone was curious. What are they going to do here? Standing in front of the barbecue grill, Han Fei shouted to the crowd, Today, the world's most delicious barbecue stall officially opens. Everything is half price. I guarantee that you'll eat until your tongue falls off. From then on, you'll fall in love with our world's most delicious barbecue stall. Barbecue stall? What is that? A passerby asked curiously. Don't worry. I'll make some for you later. You can have a taste for free. If you don't like it, it's free. Really? Kid, you can make the decision, right? Is it free if it's not delicious? Of course, I mean what I say. Gangzi, start the fire. On the long barbecue rack, there were small white fish, big conches, big clams, big yellow croaker slices, small octopus tentacles, small white shrimp. Dozens of seafood were placed on it. Han Fei, on the other hand, was quite happy. All the seafood he touched was drained of spiritual energy, which meant that all the barbecue here had no spiritual energy. When Han Fei took out a red pepper, he shouted at the crowd, Everyone, you may not believe me, but I'm a red pepper. This is a red tear fruit, a type of spiritual fruit. Do you know how much it costs? 1 mid-quality pearl. Hua, the crowd burst into an uproar. A spiritual fruit that cost a mid-quality pearl was being bought as a snack? Someone said in disbelief, Liar, how could such a luxurious thing be used to make food? How much did you sell it for? Han Fei said, I can make dozens of servings of this spiritual fruit. It's not expensive. As for the price, we guarantee that we will not cheat anyone. All the prices are written on this board. When Han Fei showed the price board, everyone was in an uproar again. Someone criticized, Kid, aren't you cheating us? You're selling little white fish for 10 low-quality pearls per caddy? You've increased it by dozens of times. That's right, his heart is too black. You're selling the clam for 20 low-quality pearls? That's more than 100 times the price. No matter how delicious it is, I won't buy it. 10 days of hard work and I can only buy a small octopus. What a loss. I'll only try the free food. I'll leave after I'm done. If it wasn't for the title of the world's most delicious food hanging here, I wouldn't have stopped to look. I really want to see what kind of ability this little kid has to make the most delicious food in the world. The crowd was full of criticism, and Li Gang's forehead was full of sweat. When he first saw the price board, he was also shocked. He wouldn't believe that someone would eat such expensive food. However, Han Fei took out the ginger and garlic and shouted, Whether it's worth it or not depends on how you see it. Even if it was a small white fish, would it still be an ordinary small white fish after I added 3 kinds of spiritual fruits? In addition to the 3 types of spirit fruits, I also used the best quality fish oil and the appropriate amount of salt. Just don't refuse to leave later. Someone sneered. Who knows if the spiritual fruit is real or not? Exactly. No one has seen what a spiritual fruit looks like. Do you think it's a spiritual fruit just because you say it's a spiritual fruit? How can a spiritual fruit only cost 1 mid-quality pearl? Han Fei nodded. Whether it's true or not, you can go to the southern plantation to have a look. All the spiritual fruits in this shop are guaranteed to be authentic, but if it's a fraud, I'll pay you 10 times the price if it's fake. Wow, really? How dare he say that? It doesn't seem to be fake. Does this little kid have so much money? Isn't this the good-for-nothing Han Fei? Someone responded, I heard that Tengu is his brother and gave him a lot of benefits. Now he is no longer a good-for-nothing but a genius. At this moment, Han Fei had brushed the fish oil several times. The onlookers couldn't help but gasp. Is fish oil free? Fish oil is very expensive. That's a caddy of fish oil that can only be extracted from countless fish. It's very expensive, but Han Fei just casually used it. And the fish oil was dripping into the fire, which made everyone's heart ache. Some people even secretly whispered, this is clearly a spendthrift. On the side, Li Gang had already crushed the peppers and garlic into pieces and was ready to be used. When Han Fei smeared the minced garlic on the barbecue, the crowd immediately exclaimed, Wow, it smells so good. It's so fragrant. Is this the power of a spiritual fruit? Someone was shocked. It's said that spiritual fruits are like this. The fragrance can spread around and make people unable to walk. It seems that this spiritual fruit is real. At this moment, not to mention the onlookers, even Han Fei kept swallowing. And when the peppers were brushed on the barbecue, the fragrance became stronger again. Han Fei shouted, Everyone, it's almost ready. In a few minutes, the first batch of barbecue will be ready. The first batch is free. Don't fight for it. If it's delicious, you can support my shop. Half price today, half price today, half price today, half price today. I'll repeat this 3 times. 2 minutes later, Han Fei shouted, Okay, little gang, next batch. A crowd of people moved and everyone stared at the barbecue in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei cut the barbecue into hundreds of pieces with a blade fish dagger and shouted, Come on, don't fight for it. Everyone, have a taste. Let me. Get out of the way. I'll try it first. I got here first. Boy, you give it to me first. Don't push. I'll try it for you. Li Gang was a little dumbfounded. Were they all so enthusiastic? They were just trying to taste the spiritual fruit. Who would really spend money on such expensive food? A young man, who was at the front of the line, was the first to get a sample. He got a big clam, which was golden and had 3 kinds of spiritual fruits on it. It smelled very fragrant. When the clam was put into his mouth, he was shocked. See God, why is there such a delicious thing in this world? Is it still clam meat? How can clam meat be so delicious? It's simply... The young man was dumbfounded. His poor vocabulary couldn't express his feelings at this moment at all. Not only this young man, but all the people who got the samples were stunned. The taste was delicious and fragrant. The heat and touch of the sea clam completely covered the fishy smell of the sea clam. Everyone felt that the taste buds on their tongues were opened, and every muscle on the tip of the tongue was jumping. It's delicious. It's so delicious. I've never tasted anything so delicious. Sea God. Isn't this a wonderful taste that only the sea god can have? I can't believe it has appeared in the mortal world. Many people were drooling after they finished the food. Looking at the new batch of barbecue on the grill, nobody was going to leave. Many people who were about to go out to sea to fish froze in their positions and didn't want to move away. Those who didn't get a sample at the back stood on their tiptoes and looked around. Not to mention that so many people said it was delicious, they couldn't stand the smell alone. Han Fei looked at them. Han Fei looked at them and said, Don't push. Spread out and don't block their way. It's no longer free from now on. But it's half price. Hurry up if you want to buy. I want a caddy of yellow fish. I want 5 caddies of white fish. Then I want a little octopus. I want a whole clam. Someone looked at the man next to him and said, Didn't you just say that you only eat free food? The man snorted. You must have a conscience. How can you eat without paying? I'm going to support this little boy's business. There was a swarm of heads as everyone gathered around. Li Gang was dumbfounded. Didn't they just say that they wouldn't buy it? Weren't they cursing just now? Why did they all change their faces? Li Gang felt that he was drooling too. It smelled really delicious. Even though the price was 100 times higher, people were still buying it. That was unbelievable. He had never thought that anyone would buy a clam with 20 low-quality pearls. That was the most extravagant thing he had ever seen. As Han Fei continued barbecuing, gradually, the whole street was filled with people who couldn't help but come here. Some people smelled an alluring fragrance as soon as they arrived at the entrance of the market. Some people were about to go to see when they smelled the fragrance and wanted to take a look. Zhang Han was leisurely eating sea melon seeds in the shop. When the fragrance drifted into his nose, he immediately dropped the sea melon seeds. It smelled too good. Could it be that someone was cooking something? Even Sister Qin, who was the coldest in the port, frowned. She couldn't help but swallow when she smelled an indescribable fragrance from the market. Chapter 43. Zhang Han pushed the crowd aside. He was too curious about what could emit such an alluring fragrance. When the crowd slightly dispersed, Zhang Han saw the words "World's Most Delicious Food," and Han Fei was standing in front of the barbecue stall brushing fish oil, his face extremely serious, and Li Gang, who was knocked down by Han Fei before, was helping him. Zhang Han opened his mouth, not quite sure what to do. Why aren't you fishing? Why are you running a stall? Aren't you going to take the fishing trial in a few days? Are you giving up already? Then, Zhang Han saw the shocking price list. 10 low-quality pearls for a white fish and 20 low-quality pearls for a clam? Hiss! Zhang Han gasped. He thought that he was already a scammer. It was not unusual for him to cheat people of dozens of sea coins or 1 or 2 low-quality pearls. But it seemed that he was a businessman with a conscience. The price of the clam had been increased by hundreds of times, and people were still buying it. The key was that there were many people buying it, and some people were still fighting for it. Kid, give me a big clam. Boy, I'd like 10 prawns. Little boss, I'd like 2 conches. Zhang Han was shocked. What a huge profit. Han Fei had seen Zhang Han a long time ago. He couldn't help but ask, Manager Zhang, do you want anything? My stall just opened today. Everything is half price. You can't miss it. Zhang Han gasped again. 10 low-quality pearls for your white fish. Han Fei said, only 5 today. Zhang Han, what's wrong with 5? Do you think it's too little? 5 low-quality pearls were 500 sea coins, which was enough for dozens of white fish. Han Fei was generous enough to give 3 prawns to Zhang Han. Zhang Han received it in a daze. Looking at the golden and dazzling prawn meat and the powdery substance on top of it, he took a bite and was immediately stupefied. How could there be such a delicious thing in this world? God knew what was on Zhang Han's mind. He asked, have you paid the management fee for your stall? Not just Han Fei, many other people looked at Zhang Han in surprise. You're still thinking about such things at a time like this? Don't you want to savor this delicacy? Han Fei smiled and patted his price board. Zhang Han glanced at it. 1 low-quality pearl for 1 prawn. He almost jumped to his feet. Did I just eat a low-quality pearl in 1 bite? Zhang Han stepped forward. Han Fei, why is it so expensive? Li Gang had always been at odds with Zhang Han. At this moment, he said proudly, what do you know? 3 kinds of spiritual fruits are used as auxiliary materials, and you still think it's expensive? What do you think? What? Zhang Han almost threw away the prawns in his hand. Spiritual fruits as spices? Was Han Fei crazy? However, when Zhang Han saw the red pepper, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief, but then he was speechless and said, don't tell me that the spiritual fruit you mentioned was obtained from the old man in the plantation? Of course, Zhang Han knew about the plantation. Not only did he know about it, but he had also been there and bought a mid-quality pearl and a spiritual fruit. It was delicious, but it was completely useless. The spiritual energy he gained after eating it was not even as much as that of a yellow croaker. Han Fei said, "There are thousands of spiritual fruits. Some can help with breakthroughs, some are helpful for cultivation, and some are natural spices that can bring happiness." Zhang Han's face was gloomy. "Happiness, my ass?" Han Fei asked, "Manager Zhang, do you want anything else?" Without saying a word, Zhang Han snorted and left gloomily. Ever since Han Fei became the angel's disciple, Han Fei had changed. His words and actions were completely different from before. Was Han Fei also changed by the angel? If that was the case, Han Fei was really untouchable. In just one day, Han Fei was so busy that he had handled at least 800 tons of seafood. He had only used up less than half of the materials, and he had earned more than 5,000 low-quality pearls, which was equivalent to 50 mid-quality pearls. Li Gang was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He joined the tigers to make a good life for Little Red, but he had never made so much money. That was 50 mid-quality pearls. Ordinary people might not have that much money even if they didn't eat or drink for decades. Suddenly Han Fei shouted, "Gangzi, come and take over. I'm exhausted." Li Gang was surprised that Han Fei was asking him to do the work. Li Gang said, "How? How can I do that?" Han Fei said gloomily, "Do you want me to die of exhaustion? Come and take over." With that, Han Fei let go and sat aside to rest. Looking at the buckets of white fish, yellow croakers, prawns, and conches behind him, he felt that spiritual energy was surging at him. In just one day, he had absorbed almost 4,000 points of spiritual energy. Plus his own inventory, he had more than 5,000 points of spiritual energy. More importantly, he didn't suffer a loss. He only spent some money on 100 kilograms of fish head wine, which only cost 5 or 6 mid-quality pearls. Li Gang had learned it a long time ago. It was actually very simple to do. Splash the fish oil, splash the chili juice, and sprinkle some minced garlic. It couldn't have been easier. Han Fei took a rest and asked, "Gangzi, where are your lackeys?" Li Gang didn't know how to answer. After all, his lackeys were already dead. Li Gang asked, "They must have become fish dung." Han Fei asked, "Do you have any other lackeys?" Li Gang replied, "No. There aren't many gangsters in the village. I can't control the other gangsters. They're all in the gang." Han Fei asked, "What is Little Red doing at home?" Li Gang's face slightly changed. "Young master, Little Red is my life." "Little Red?" Han Fei scoffed. "Bah! What are you thinking? I mean, can you ask Little Red to help the world's best barbecue stall? I'll give you 10% of the profits." Li Gang was stunned. Young master? Really? This was completely beyond Li Gang's expectation. After he was crippled by the tigers, he had planned to retire. If he wasn't careful enough, he might lose his life. But he didn't expect that Han Fei would help him. Not only did Han Fei cure his wounds, but he also asked for 10% of the profits from the barbecue stall. Li Gang asked again, "Young master, really?" Han Fei said, "Why would I lie to you? I don't care about such a small amount of money right now." Li Gang was overjoyed. "You don't care about it, but I do." Even if he only got 10% of the profits, according to today's sales, he would get 5 mid-quality pearls, and that was only half the price. Wouldn't it double if there was no discount? That was much more than what he made in the tigers. Han Fei handed a fish or a skewer of shrimp to Li Gang from time to time. Every time, the fish would be cold and their spiritual energy would be drained, but Han Fei never got tired of it. At night, the stall was about to close. Wang Jie and He Mingtang came. Seeing that Han Fei was here, Wang Jie was furious. "Han Fei, what are you doing? Do you think you're a lowly fisherman? The fishing trial is around the corner. Why are you here instead of cultivating?" Li Gang said angrily, "Fishing master Wang Jie, you can't say that. My young master is a man of great ability. A fishing trial is nothing to him." "Shut up. Wang Jie said gloomily. Han Fei, speak for yourself. Han Fei said solemnly, Master, we cultivators have a weak foundation. It's time to lay the foundation. Only with enough money can we support our cultivation, Wang Jie said. Speak human language. Han Fei said, I feel that I'm about to make a breakthrough. I need to make some money to buy some ancillary spiritual fluids. Wang Jie said, Heh. How much money can you make from your stall? I didn't believe it when I heard that my student was setting up a stall. I didn't expect that you would really be here. Han Fei said, Master, it's very profitable. I've made 50 mid-quality pearls. Wang Jie said, Shut up. Is 50 mid-quality pearls a big deal? Wait, how many mid-quality pearls did you say? Han Fei said, 50. He Mingtang asked, Han Fei, are your mid-quality pearls yellowfish? 50. Clatter, Li Gang tossed the box of low-quality pearls out and fiddled with them. I told you that my young master is awesome. This box is almost full. Wang Jie. He Mingtang. Wang Jie and He Mingtang finally noticed the price of Han Fei's barbecue. Hiss, both of them sucked in a cold breath. Wang Jie asked, It's so expensive. Is anybody buying it? Han Fei immediately said to Li Gang, Little Gang, roast some prawns and clams for Mr. Wang and Mr. He after we close the stall. Li Gang asked, Are you paying? Han Fei was lost for words. Why are you so ignorant? How can I ask for money when I'm a teacher? A moment later, Han Fei saw that Wang Jie and He Mingtang were almost drooling. Both of them were shocked by the intense aroma. When Wang Jie learned that Han Fei added 3 kinds of spiritual fruits to the clams, he was lost for words. Are you a tycoon? But after a mouthful of prawns, Wang Jie shut up. He Mingtang said, Han Fei, can you get a few more prawns? I'll bring some for He Xiaoyu. Give me some of each. Chapter 44. The voice came suddenly. They looked back and saw that it was Sister Qin, the registrar of the departure port. Sister Qin's real name was Jiang Qin. She had been working at the port for 3 years. She showed up at work on time every day and didn't leave until everyone went to bed. No one knew Jiang Qin's background, but no one paid attention to it. After all, it was just a civil servant in everyone's eyes. Of course, Han Fei didn't know any of this. He only knew that the girl left a good impression on him. Although she was a bit cold, she always took care of him when he went to sea. Hey! Sister Qin is here. Wait a moment. Gongzi, add more dishes. When Wang Jie saw Han Fei's earnings, he realized he couldn't teach him a lesson. He pulled Han Fei to the side. Why are you with Li Gang? This kind of hooligan is not worth associating with. Sir, Gangzi has been kicked out of the Tigers and is now begging on the street. How can I ignore him? So I accepted him. Han Fei spoke righteously, but Wang Jie didn't think so. Why did he hear a different version? Li Gang was kicked out of the Tigers because of you, didn't you? In the end, Wang Jie said thoughtfully, although training requires resources, you can't rely on them too much. There are only 7 days left until the fishing trial. You take care. After Wang Jie and He Mingtang left, Li Gang was packing for Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin took a bite of the prawn and her eyes lit up. She swallowed the whole prawn in a few bites. She turned to look at Han Fei. Want to walk with me? Stunned for a moment, Han Fei said to Li Gang, Little Gang, pack up your stall. Take this bag of low-quality pearls with you. Prepare the materials for tomorrow and exchange them for mid-quality pearls. Li Gang. I'll handle it? Of course. How troublesome would it be to carry that bag of pearls? Li Gang was dumbfounded. What did he mean by trouble? It was all money. Do you think it's troublesome to carry money? Jiang Qin saw everything. When they walked out of the market, she said, There is no small fish tied in the sea, right? Han Fei certainly wouldn't admit it. Of course not. I was attacked by fish tides twice, and even my fishing boat was broken. However, Jiang Qin didn't respond. So you should pay for the fishing boat. Han Fei. Jiang Qin said, forget it. Everyone has secret. Just keep them to yourself. How did you manage to get those spirit fruits from the plantation? Han Fei said, hey. I gave the old man some wine and he gave it to me. Jiang Qin nodded faintly. He didn't know whether she believed him or not, but he just assumed that she did. However, Jiang Qin changed the topic and glanced at Han Fei. I heard that you haven't made any progress in the past 4 years, but you've been cultivating very fast recently. You're about to break through to the peak of level 6. What level is your spiritual heritage? Han Fei was shocked. This girl was probably not an ordinary person. He felt as if he had been seen through. Level 2, low quality. Jiang Qin was stunned and frowned slightly. It's not a good thing for children to lie. It depends on who they are hiding from. Sister Qin, I'm really level 2, low quality. In fact, I was level 1, high quality when I was tested at school, but then I got lucky and became level 2. Han Fei didn't intend to hide this. After all, the result of the test in front of the whole school was level 1, high quality. But if the girl asked him to test it again, it would be hard to explain. Jiang Qin turned her head sharply. A growable spiritual heritage? Han Fei quickly said, I ate a spiritual fruit. My brother left it to me. He didn't know whether Jiang Qin believed him or not. After walking for about 10 minutes, Jiang Qin said, prepare for the fishing trial. The higher your ranking, the better, if you want to continue to get spiritual fruits from the plantation. Han Fei nodded. Okay. After saying this, Jiang Qin left on her own. Han Fei was puzzled. What did she mean by that? When Han Fei returned home, it was already late. He checked his spiritual energy value, which was already more than 7,000 points, but he didn't intend to make a breakthrough immediately. He wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he wanted to save more spiritual energy. Maybe he could upgrade his spiritual heritage in one go, which required 10,000 points of spiritual energy. Maybe he could have a level 3 spiritual heritage soon. The next day, at the world's most delicious barbecue stall, Han Fei finally saw Little Red, whom Li Gang had been thinking about all the time. Li Gang said, Little Red, this is young master. Young master is not an ordinary person. Han Fei was quite polite and nodded slightly, although this was obviously not in line with his 12-year-old age. But secretly, the corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. I thought Little Red was very beautiful, but Li Gang was always afraid that Little Red would run away. Damn it. Do you think everyone is like you, looking for a woman who is as fat as you? Li Gang was at least 170 kilograms, but Little Red was not afraid of him at all. Han Fei even felt that Li Gang might not be able to beat her. It seemed that this guy was just arrogant outside, but he was also henpecked at home. Since the barbecue task was given to Li Gang and Little Red, Han Fei had nothing to do. He moved a small stool behind the barbecue stall and sat down to deliver seafood to Li Gang. Everything that passed through his hands died in Li Gang's hands. Today's turnover of the barbecue stall was less than half of yesterday's. After all, people could afford the half price yesterday, but it was suddenly restored to the original price today. Ordinary fishermen couldn't afford it. But fortunately, many people came because of the reputation. Li Gang explained to each person who came. When the sun was about to set, Han Fei's spiritual energy value had already exceeded 10,000 points, but he was as steady as an old dog. He would save it first. Li Gang said, Young master, we don't have enough spiritual fruits. They will probably be used up in half a day tomorrow. Han Fei nodded. Okay. Little Gang, you can have one of each. I'll go get some spiritual fruits. Hearing that Han Fei was going to get spiritual fruits, a vendor immediately came up to him. Boy, is it easy to get spiritual fruits? Can you get some for me too? Han Fei said with a simple smile, Uncle, 1 mid-quality pearl for 1. Although the business of the world's most delicious barbecue stall is good, I actually don't make much money. I dare not go to the plantation to stock without 100 mid-quality pearls. Wow, the vendor counted with his fingers when he heard that it was 100 mid-quality pearls. Forget it, he couldn't afford it. Who the F***ck could afford that? 100 mid-quality pearls were equivalent to a high-quality pearl. Who in the entire Heavenly Water Village had a few high-quality pearls? Not a single person in the entire village was as rich as Han Fei. Sending the vendor away, Han Fei went to the plantation with 20 caddies of liquor and a bag of barbecue. Han Fei was also dumbfounded when he came to the plantation. He saw that the old man had a bunch of peanuts that had just been dug out of the ground and a bottle of liquor in front of him. Han Fei was speechless. The old man had learned such a classic way to eat peanuts by himself. The more he drank, the more delicious the peanuts tasted. Even Han Fei wanted to have a few bites. He had done this many times before. Every time he went to sea, he would bring a lot of peanuts with him. Huh? Boy, what's the smell? How can it emit such a fragrance? Han Fei walked over with a smile with the barbecue and liquor. Grandpa, I told you that I wouldn't take anything from you for free. This is called barbecue. Why don't you try it? The old man took a look. Huh. Ordinary little white fish, big clams. Then, the old man's expression changed. You're using these spiritual fruits with such coarse food? But it smells very good. I wonder how it tastes. After a mouthful of the clam, the old man's face suddenly changed. His expression was so colorful that Han Fei was amused. Is this the white azure fruit? The old man was full of disbelief. The white azure fruit was such a disgusting thing, but it had become a great delicacy? Han Fei pointed at the garlic and said, It's crushed and roasted. Very good. How about it? Does it taste good? The old man ate half of the clam in a row and then looked at Han Fei with scrutiny. Boy, did you make this? Han Fei said, There is nothing useless in this world. People just don't know how to use it. The old man drank a mouthful of liquor and looked at Han Fei in a different way. The old man asked, Boy, you said you want to help me take care of the garden? Han Fei asked, Can I? The old man said, Yes, but the wine, this, Han Fei said, barbecue. The old man said, Yes, you have to provide for the wine and the barbecue. Han Fei grinned. Okay, then I'll come to take care of the garden for you after the fishing trial. But I've used up the spiritual fruits I took from you the day before yesterday. The old man waved his hand indifferently. Yes. Well, no more than 100 kilograms each time. Hardly had Han Fei left when a woman appeared outside the house. You agreed just like that, Grandpa Foodie? The old man said, This boy is not bad. The woman chuckled. Chapter 45. Li Gang asked, Young master, the fishing trial is tomorrow. Don't you need to train yourself? Han Fei was playing with a white fish. He nodded and said, That's right. It's time for me to train myself. Li Gang. Han Fei used to be a nobody, but he became a public figure after he turned on the hack. It was exactly because he became a public figure that those who were interested in him temporarily gave up. In the cave, Han Fei began to practice the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing again. Even though Han Fei's physique had been greatly improved, he was still sweating profusely after 36 postures. After finishing all 108 postures for the first time, he was like a steamed prawn. For Han Fei, there was no bottleneck for him to become a level 7 fisher. All he needed was enough spiritual energy. If I don't make a breakthrough, practicing the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing won't increase the upper limit of spiritual energy. Let's just make a breakthrough. Han Fei looked at his own data. Owner Han Fei level 6, intermediate fisher, spiritual energy greater than 48,201, 249, spiritual heritage level 2, low quality, upgradable, weapon purple bamboo rod main art void fishing, chapter 1. Hook kiss, mortal level, divine quality. Han Fei couldn't have stopped smiling when he saw the data. If it weren't for the fact that the barbecue stall was so expensive that ordinary people couldn't afford it once, his spiritual energy would have been even greater. Han Fei sat cross-legged and took a deep breath. Break. In an instant, a green light shone from Han Fei's body, and a large amount of spiritual energy seemed to appear out of thin air, circulating on the surface of his body. However, this time, the calabash didn't swallow it, perhaps because it didn't care about ordinary spiritual energy. Han Fei felt that his bones were shivering and his body was expanding. His muscles seemed to be full of strength, and abundant spiritual energy was flushing inside his body. Han Fei entered the ranks of level 7 fishers, but he did not stop. Other people had to absorb spiritual energy to nourish themselves when they reached level 7, but Han Fei was not short of spiritual energy at all. The stored spiritual energy was still surging out, flushing Han Fei's bones, flesh, and internal organs all the time. It was not until his meridians began to expand and the heat became unbearable that he finally stopped the cultivation. He opened his eyes and stood up. Creaking sounds came from his body and his bones trembled. Han Fei felt that he was in an extremely good state at the moment. If he could kill Li Gang with a single blow when he was at the pinnacle of the 6th tier, he could do so with a casual blow now. Owner Han Fei level 7 Advanced Fisher Spiritual Energy 36008-279 Spiritual Pulse Level 2 Low Grade Upgradable Weapon Purple Bamboo Staff Main Art Void Fishing Chapter 1 Hook Kiss Mortal Level Divine Quality. Seeing that more than 12,000 points of spiritual energy had been consumed, Han Fei clicked his tongue. Did other people need so much spiritual energy to make a breakthrough? If it was necessary, other people probably had less than 200 points of spiritual energy. If they consumed 12,000 points of spiritual energy, wouldn't they be sucked dry? However, it never occurred to Han Fei that only by cultivating day and night at each level could his body accumulate from the beginning to the peak, while he broke through and directly reached the peak, ready to face the next barrier. How could it be the same? It was still late at night. Han Fei wondered if it was necessary to upgrade his spiritual pulse. After all, it only required 10,000 points of spiritual energy, but he gave up after thinking for a while. He was already high-profile enough. He had just boasted to Jiang Qin that his spiritual pulse had changed from level 1, high grade, to level 2, low grade. If he upgraded it from level 2, low grade, to level 3, would it cause trouble? However, he could finally see what the world of monster refinement was. Han Fei opened his palm, and with a thought, the calabash appeared in his palm. 5,000 points of spiritual energy are nothing to me now. Open. In a daze, Han Fei felt that the world was swirling and he couldn't see anything. When it was lit up again, he found himself in a circular space with a radius of 3 square meters. There was mud under his feet, which was a little wet. Around him, there was endless darkness, pure darkness, and he couldn't see anything. Han Fei was shocked. What the hell? Where was this? He carefully poked the black boundary with his finger, but there seemed to be a magical force blocking his way, like an invisible wall. A guess flashed in his mind. Was the world of monster refinement inside the calabash? Han Fei thought of the calabash in Journey to the West, which could suck Sun Wukong into it. Did his calabash have the same function? Wasn't it equivalent to the legendary space ring? No, I have to try it with Li Gang later and see if I can get him in. What if I turn him into nutrients? I'd better try the yellow croaker first. But this space is too small. Can't it be bigger? As soon as Han Fei thought of this, he saw a stream of spiritual energy pouring in, and then the surrounding darkness retreated a little. The area seemed to be 4 square meters. Wow! Spiritual energy can expand the land here. Forget it, I won't expand it. What if this thing consumes a lot of spiritual energy? But how can I get out? Han Fei tried to figure it out with his mind, and sure enough, He appeared in the same place in the next second. Han Fei looked at the data. His spiritual energy had become 30,008 points, which meant that he had just spent a total of 6,000 points of spiritual energy. In addition to 5,000 points to open forge the universe, the remaining 1,000 points should be used to expand the land. He tried to bring the item in, and sure enough, as he expected, with a thought, he really brought it in. After repeating this several times, he stuffed everything that could be stuffed into forge the universe. However, when he put the clam in, he found that there was some obscure resistance when he put the clam in. Is it because the clam is alive? But I did bring it in after all. Han Fei didn't know the limit of forge the universe, and he dared not really drag it in, which would only expose himself. However, since it could bring living things in, it suggested something. Just like this, Han Fei studied until the sky was slightly bright, and then he stopped. Today was the fishing trial. Tens of thousands of students would take part in it. Han Fei was full of confidence. He was at least a level 7 fisher. It wouldn't be a problem for him to advance to level 8 if he weren't afraid that other people might misunderstand him. At the school, everybody had arrived early. Some were talking and laughing, and some were very nervous, but Han Fei knew that they were all nervous. They were just joking to cover up their nervousness. He Xiaoyu grimaced at Han Fei the moment she saw him. Han Fei sensed that He Xiaoyu was different the moment he saw her. He asked in shock, "You've made a breakthrough?" He Xiaoyu asked in surprise, "You noticed it?" Han Fei said, "You look quite energetic. You must have made a breakthrough." He Xiaoyu said excitedly, "Ha ha! I made a breakthrough on the second day after my father locked me at home. I've been consolidating my cultivation. I'm going to make it to the top 100 in this trial." Han Fei said, "Then work hard." He Xiaoyu asked, "What about you? My father said that you're opening a barbecue stall. It's really delicious. Can you give me a discount later?" Seeing that He Xiaoyu was almost drooling, Han Fei knew that the girl must have been thinking about it. Han Fei said, "Of course. You can give me as cheap as you want." He Xiaoyu asked, "How about 10 sea coins for a clam?" Shocked, Han Fei looked at He Xiaoyu gloomily. "You can buy a clam on the street for 10 sea coins. It might not be enough." He Xiaoyu said, "You can give me any discount you want." Han Fei thought for a moment and gave up. After all, He Xiaoyu seemed to be his only friend here except for Tango. So, he waved his hand lazily and said, "Forget it. Don't ask for 10 sea coins. You can take it for free if you want. Just eat as much as you can. Don't waste it." "Really?" He Xiaoyu jumped in joy. Ever since her father brought the barbecue back for her, her head had been full of barbecue. She felt that it was the most wonderful taste in the world. Even the crimson sea fruit might not be as delicious as barbecue. "Attention, everybody!" At this moment, the principal roared at the operation room. "Students, you should know what the fishing trial means. But don't feel pressured. Just try your best. Remember, life is the most important thing." Chapter 46. On this day, thousands of boats sailed from the sky island of the heavenly water village. Not just the students, but also the parents came to see them off. Someone had tears in his eyes. The fishing trial was a test of life and death. All the students would try their best to fight for the ranking, no matter how weak they were. But the more they tried, the more dangerous it would be. Even if all the teachers, supervisors, and law enforcers of the 4 major schools of the Heavenly Water Village were mobilized, there would still be casualties. The best record in history was 10% dead, 30% wounded, and 60% alive. It was the highest survival rate ever. On the surface of the sea, all the 12-year-old children of the Heavenly Water Village were gathered. The village leader floated his boat and shouted, "Same as before, the assessment will be based on points. You will be graded according to the level of your catch. The top 1,000 may be qualified for spiritual awakening. However, everyone must remember to act within your means and not try to show off." Everyone listened attentively, and no one became impatient. Outside of the assessment circle, countless parents were roaring, "Sons, it's more important to stay alive. Listen to the village leader and don't force yourself." Someone shouted, "Daughters, it doesn't matter if you can't pass the trial. There's still a chance for natural awakening." Someone shouted, "Children, give up if you can't defeat the enemy." Someone roared, "Be careful of other boats." Han Fei looked for Tengu everywhere, but there were too many fishing boats. Where could he find him? He Xiaoyu, on the other hand, was cheering for him not far away. The village leader said, "Attention, everybody. The fishing time is 12 hours. Whoever is rescued by the inspectors will automatically end the trial. The assessment will begin in half an hour." The sea breeze was not strong. The rising sun dyed the surface of the sea gold, and several black spots appeared on the blue sky. When they got closer, they saw several fishing boats coming at them. Someone exclaimed, "Hey! That's the exclusive boat of the Tigers. Li Hu hasn't shown up recently. It's said that he's trying to become a level 8 fisher. There's no telling if he succeeded or not." Someone pointed to the other side. "Look, it's the boat of the Wang family. Wang Baiyu is the only one from the Wang family who is participating in the trial this year. It's said that he's a promising armorist." Many people didn't know what an armorist was. They were all confused, but it sounded very powerful. "Look over there. It's Xia Wushuang, the strongest heavenly talent of the Western school and the only one with a low-quality level 4 spiritual heritage in the Heavenly Water Village this year. That's Xiang Nan from the North Campus. I heard that he became a level 8 fisher the day before yesterday." Han Fei was speechless. What does he mean? We have to gather at the school and then come with the main force. Why did they allow these people to come so late at night? Did they really have to come here to show off? However, just as this thought flashed through their minds, everyone's gazes turned to the east. Above the horizon, there seemed to be a figure walking through the air. It was as if the two of them had walked out of the sun and were illuminated by the rising sun. Needless to say, everyone was silent. This evildoer had arrived. It was none other than Tengu, who had been taken away by Fang Zhe for many days. No one would say that it was unfair. Was a grade 7 spiritual vein something that could be decided by fairness? In fact, everybody had already acknowledged Tengu as the champion of this fishing trial. Who else was qualified to win the first place except for him? Fang Zhe was still indifferent. He waved his hand, and a white luxurious fishing boat appeared on the sea, in sharp contrast to the thousands of fishing boats in front of him. Fang Zhe said, "Don't worry about the fishing trial. In any case, the first place is already yours. But after this spiritual awakening, you should say goodbye to this small place." Tengu looked around in the crowd and saw that Han Fei was waving his hand. He grinned and waved back. Fang Zhe narrowed his eyes. He had seen through Han Fei's strength at a glance. A level 7 fisher might be good in a small place, but it was nothing in the city. Most of the kids in the city were fishing masters at least. Han Fei didn't stand out before, so he didn't think that his spiritual heritage was very talented. However, since he was Tang Ji's brother, he might as well befriend him later. At this moment, the village leader came to Fang Zhe respectfully. "Master Angel, when do you want to start?" Fang Zhe said, "Didn't we set a time? Let's do it according to the time." Then, Fang Zhe glanced at the crowd and said casually, "I can promise the top 3 of this trial a spirit concentration art. Everybody work hard." Wow, the sea was in an uproar. Although many people didn't know what spirit concentration art was, it was a reward promised by the angel. They had never heard of it before. It must be something beyond their imagination. Many people's eyes glowed when Fang Zhe said that. Wang Baiyu was excited. The Wang family focused on armorists and established itself as an armorist. If he could learn the spirit concentration art, he might be able to be an armorist and a spirit gatherer at the same time. By then, he would be one of the best in the town. Li Hu's eyes glowed, and his chest was full of excitement. The tigers were suppressed by the Wong family because they didn't have an expert in any of the 5 major professions. If he could get spirit concentration art, he might be able to become a spirit gatherer. By then, he wouldn't have to fear the Wong family at all. Han Fei didn't feel anything, but he remembered the armorist of the Wong family he saw in the market the other day. But no matter how powerful he was, his trump cards were much stronger than this. Besides, he could compete for the spirit concentration art. The village leader was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. It would be great if there could be a spirit gatherer in the village, who might lead the Heavenly Water Village to greater heights. The village leader shouted with a ruddy face, "Attention, everyone. The assessment begins." As the village leader shouted, the 10,000 fishing boats immediately dispersed and went to their respective fishing spots. Some people couldn't wait any longer and began to cast their hooks without even moving their fishing boat. Because it was a trial, there were no 8 people sharing a fishing boat at this time. Each person had a fishing boat, and how many points one could get depended on one's ability. Han Fei was not in a hurry. He drove his fishing boat to Tango. So did Tango. Tango laughed. "Han Fei, did you make a breakthrough again?" Han Fei also grinned. "Yes, I'm making rapid progress now. A fishing trial is not a problem at all." Tango nodded. "That's good. That's good. What I left for you," Han Fei said solemnly, "don't practice that mystic body technique. I can feel that there are major flaws in it." Tango was stunned. Han Fei said, "It doesn't matter how I know it. Just don't practice it." Tango said, "I didn't practice it. What about you?" Han Fei said, "Don't worry, I didn't practice it either. Let's meet after the fishing trial. I have something to tell you." Tango said, "Okay. Then let's choose a place to start fishing." At this moment Fong Zhe appeared. He glanced at Han Fei casually and said to Tango, "Don't go with him. If you go with him, he may not catch a single fish with your current strength and the noise you make when fishing." Tango looked at Han Fei awkwardly. Han Fei said, "Just go by yourself. Your goal is the Sea of Stars. Work hard." Fong Zhe was stunned. He thought that Han Fei would beg Tango to help him, but he didn't expect that Han Fei didn't ask for anything. The Sea of Stars was not a bad phrase. Tango said, "But you," Han Fei smiled brightly. "Don't worry. Don't let me catch up to you. My destination is the infinite ocean. It's as good as yours." Then, Han Fei steered the boat away quickly. Fong Zhe slightly shook his head. The kid was truly arrogant. The infinite ocean? Do you know what the infinite ocean is? Well, ignorance is bliss. However, considering the kid's wisdom, he might become a great fishing master in the future. Han Fei was not in a hurry to fish. He knew that there were too many resources in this ocean. He could catch fish anywhere. However, he didn't want to be too close to other people, mainly in case they saw his extraordinary fishing abilities. Han Fei drove 500 kilometers away. There were only a few fishing boats 1,000 meters away. Then he stopped and unhurriedly took out his fishing rod and put on the bait. Because he was fishing according to the level of the fish in the general fishery, Han Fei's target was not the fish below 5 points. For example, white fish were only worth 1 point, yellow fish were worth 3 points, green turtles were worth 5 points, blade fish were worth 7 points, tentacle lobsters were worth 8 points, and snakebelts were worth 9 points. A meat turtle was worth 20 points, a rarely seen spirit-absorbing jellyfish was worth 30 points, and some iron-head fish were worth 12 points. In addition to these ordinary fish, it was said that in this sea area, some spirit-swallowing fish and pearl fish with low attack power were driven into the level 1 fishery by the fishing masters, which were both worth 15 points. However, few people could catch such fish. It was only to increase the difficulty of the trial. Chapter 47. 5 meters below was the territory of the blade fish and the green turtles. It was possible to catch the snakebelts if it was deeper. However, the snakebelts preferred warm water and were not interested in the bait. So, they were not easy to catch. This time, Han Fei was not afraid of wasting spiritual energy. The spiritual energy was transmitted to the fishing line and the hook through the rod. Everything around the hook was under his control. Suddenly, Han Fei's expression changed. He jerked the rod and retracted it. It was a bladefish. At the same time, the purple bamboo rod appeared in his hand. The moment the bladefish was broken, a cold light flashed. Holding the rod in one hand, Han Fei waved the purple bamboo rod in his left hand casually. Clink! The shoddy fin knife stabbed into the cover of the cabin, and Han Fei smashed it down. The bladefish's head was dented, and he kicked it into the cabin. He had earned 7 points. After only 2 hours, Han Fei met the inspectors 4 times. Every time the inspectors came, Han Fei pretended to be diligent, but he was relaxed again after the inspectors left. In the 2 hours, Han Fei caught 13 bladefish and 8 green turtles, for a total of 131 points. When the 2 hours passed, a voice came from the sky. The village leader shouted, "The first place in this fishing trial has 241 points, and the 10th place has 142 points. Keep it up, everybody." Han Fei was stunned. "Village leader, are you kidding me? I'm already very fast. But I only have 131 points. Are those people all beasts? Why are their scores so high? Even the 10th place has a higher score than me?" At this moment, far away, Wang Baiyu bellowed, "Weapon armor, hook technique." A long hook emerged from a box next to Wang Baiyu and entered the water. Then, a bladefish jumped out of the water. As the bladefish flashed, Wang Baiyu did not even look at it. He simply roared, "Weapon shield!" It was a shield made of turtle shells. It had appeared before Wang Baiyu at some point, and the shoddy fin knife was immediately blown away when it hit the shield. On the other side, Li Hu said gloomily, "Who has already got 242 points? Tango? I wonder how many points Wang Baiyu has. It should be close to 200, right?" Li Hu smiled coldly and shouted, "Huya, kill!" In the sea, a 3-meter-long, hideous fish with a hideous head broke out of the water and spat out a baby iron-head fish onto the boat. This was Li Hu's secret. Everyone knew that his father, Li Ju, had a tiger-head fish, but no one knew that he also had one. As for Tang Go, he had seen a lot of the world with Fang Zhe these days, even in the level 3 fishery. He had seen all kinds of attack methods of different fish species. What Fang Zhe taught him were the most practical fishing techniques and fishing technique. At this moment, Tanggu seemed to be performing a mysterious technique. As Tanggu moved, a pillar of spiritual energy fell on the surface of the sea, and then fish popped up, and Tanggu only needed to catch them casually. If Wang Baiyu, Li Hu, or other teachers were here, they would be shocked. Isn't this the spirit-gathering art? Turned out that Tanggu had learned the spirit concentration technique. With this technique, fishing in the ordinary fishery was like playing house. Apart from the heavenly talents, it was not so easy for the others. It was even bloody. A student from the southern campus had only scored 40 points. It was not a bad score, but he was too eager and put the hook 6 meters below the ground. Then, a saber, a huge saber, came at him so fast that the patrolman did not even have time to react before the student was beheaded. 6 students from the northern campus were not far away. They were smart enough to buy a lot of green bait and throw them into the sea, hoping to build a nest. However, 3 tentacle lobsters were attracted, and only 3 of the 6 students escaped. The other 3 were all dragged into the sea. In the eastern campus, a girl who had scolded Han Fei before was so unlucky that she caught a ball fish. Even the teachers didn't expect that the ball fish would be caught. As a result, 108 flying needles flew all over the sky and pierced through the girl. Such things happened in many places. The inspectors had no time to react. After all, they were not fishing together. As for the disability rate, it was even higher. Many students would choose the blade fish if they wanted to accumulate points, but could all the students really dodge that knife? At least half of them couldn't, because the saber was too fast. Even if they had weapons, 30% of them would still be disabled. Another 2 hours passed. Han Fei was more efficient than before. The green bait he caught earlier cost him 131 points. This time, he also hammered a tentacle lobster, caught 17 blade fish, and caught 6 green turtles. His total score was 289 points. Han Fei spat. He should be in the top 10 now, right? If he didn't have enough spiritual energy, he wouldn't have been able to catch so many fish. Fishermen below level 7 would have taken spirit refilling pills or started cultivating or eating to recover. The village leader's announcement came from the sky again. The first place in this fishing trial has 482 points, and the 10th place has 298 points. Keep it up, everyone. Han Fei was stunned. Are you kidding me? Are these people really students? They should have run out of spiritual energy a long time ago. It never occurred to Han Fei that the top few were all the best in the village. Who didn't have spirit refilling pills? Of course, spirit refilling pills alone weren't enough, but they all had their own trick. He Xiaoyu was not panicked at all. She had 212 points. Her father gave her 3 spirit refilling pills before she came. She thought that it would be great if he Xiaoyu could make it to the top 100 with her talent. Little did he Mingtang know that Han Fei gave he Xiaoyu 3 spirit refilling pills to steal the knowledge of spiritual energy explosion. Han Fei said gloomily, "Fine, you've forced me to do this. You're competing with me for the spirit concentration art, aren't you? You're competing with me for the place of the awakening spirit, aren't you? Come on, watch me suck." Han Fei made up his mind and activated the void fishing art. In an instant, Han Fei's hands were burning. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. He had already prepared a bucket by the side and immediately put his hand into it. If Fang Zhe had been watching this, his eyes would have popped out of his head. Was he not afraid that he would explode when he attracted spiritual energy into his body under the sun? In the next moment, the spiritual energy here was slightly rioting. Han Fei saw a shoal of fish and a few knives swimming at him. Han Fei immediately cast the hook. As he expected, a fish bit the hook, but it was not a blade fish but a green turtle. However, Han Fei didn't mind it at all. He immediately retracted his rod and knocked the green turtle out without caring about the flying stones at all. But when the spiritual energy here was rioting, Fang Zhe frowned. Why did I sense the essence of the sun just now? Was it an illusion? 2 patrol inspectors who were nearby also sensed the abnormality here and hurried over. Then the 2 inspectors were shocked. When they arrived, they saw Han Fei jumping up and smashing the head of a tentacle lobster with a stick. Then, 2 seconds after Han Fei cast the hook, a streak of cold light shot out of the water, but he blocked it with a casual wave of his rod. The 2 inspectors saw that there were as many as 30 knives on the roof, deck, and body of Han Fei's boat. Hiss, one of the inspectors boarded the boat and said after a glance, "Students from the eastern campus? They're all blade fish, a few green turtles, and 2 tentacle lobsters." The other inspector had come to count the score. Seeing that there were more knives on Han Fei's boat, he shook his head and said to the inspector, "Let's go. He's Han Fei, Tang Ji's brother." The other inspector understood. It was true that only geniuses could call each other brothers. They were truly strong. Ignoring the 2 teachers, Han Fei paused for a moment. "It's not a good idea to have all the knives on the boat. Will I expose my strength? Forget it. I'd better put the knives away." Far away, Li Hu was stunned and looked at the tiger-headed fish. Are there fish over there?" The tiger-headed fish squeaked like a human. Li Hu asked, "Someone's over there? So what? Let's rob him." Chapter 48. Therefore, cheating in exams was a great thing. Han Fei was quite happy at this moment. In only a quarter of an hour, he had collected 10 blade fish. That wasn't a bad score, was it? Even Tang Ji's score of nearly 500 was not much higher than his. Unfortunately, it was just a hasty test just now. The number of rioting fishes had decreased by quite a bit. He reckoned that he would have to cheat again soon. When Han Fei was about to cast the hook, he saw a fishing boat approaching quickly hundreds of meters away. Who's here? What are you doing here instead of fishing? If someone comes, doesn't that mean I can't cheat? Gloomily, Han Fei stopped what he was doing and looked at the ship. When the boat approached, Han Fei saw the young man standing at the bow. Isn't this the young master of the tigers? What? Could it be that you want to establish a relationship with me? Of course, his father thought that he had really offended Tango. But it was not a bad idea to give me some points. When Li Hu's boat approached, Han Fei didn't stop him. Instead, he said with a smile, "Fine, I won't blame you for that. Just give me 100 or 200 points. I don't need more than that. Otherwise, it won't be good if I stand out." Li Hu looked down, only to discover that some blade fish were swimming by. He then looked at Han Fei's open cabin, which seemed to contain a lot of blade fish. He narrowed his eyes. Li Hu said, "I'll give you a chance. Offer the fish in your cabin to me, and I'll give you a chance to follow me." No, wait. Are you asking me to offer the fish to you? Li Hu, not bad. You also said that I would only have a chance to follow you after I offer the fish to you? Li Hu said impatiently, "Yes." Han Fei was speechless. Was this guy crazy? His father didn't do anything to him, and he wanted to rob him? Hey, was your head hit by an iron-head fish when you were a kid? Li Hu was at a loss at first, then he seemed to come to his senses and said coldly, "How dare you?" Speechless, Han Fei said impatiently, "Get lost. I'll count to 3. If you don't get lost, I'll blow up your head." Li Hu's eyes revealed an ominous glint. This person actually dared to reject him, which immediately made his ferocious nature rise. Li Hu said coldly, "Do you know why the casualty rate of every fishing trial is as high as 40 to 50%? I don't care if it's 40% or 50%. Are you going to get lost or not?" Li Hu shouted angrily, "You're courting death." With that, Li Hu took out 2 knives and slashed at Han Fei. Seeing Han Fei's attitude and tone, he couldn't even go on. He had to kill him today. Han Fei waved the purple bamboo rod to block it. He didn't expect Li Hu to dare to attack. Was this guy crazy? He wanted to say, "Don't you want the tigers?" However, the saber had already slashed at him heavily. Han Fei was stunned. This was not the power of a level 7 expert. Was this guy a level 8 fisher? But so what if you're at the 8th level? I can still smash your head. You asked for it. In an instant, spiritual energy surged in Han Fei's body, and the purple bamboo rod fiercely smashed down at the 2 knives. Li Hu didn't seem to expect Han Fei to be so strong. After only 1 attack, he felt that his arms were numb and his hands were cracked. Han Fei bashed him and cursed, "Who gave you the courage to pick up 2 knives? Other people use sticks, but you only use knives. Are you trying to show off your capabilities?" As he spoke, he swept the purple bamboo rod. Chilled, Li Hu jumped back quickly. However, to his surprise, the tail of the rod was accompanied by a cold light. His first thought was why the rod was emitting knife light, but in the next moment, the clothes on his abdomen were torn apart, revealing the fish bone armor inside. "Huh? You're wearing clothes inside. No wonder it looked weird just now. What's so great about you having clothes? I'll blow up your head." Li Hu said, "Very good. You've pissed me off. Tiger head. Why don't you call me along when you're fighting here?" When Han Fei was about to attack again, a voice came from 100 meters away. Han Fei and Li Hu looked back, only to see that it was none other than Wang Baiyu, the 3rd young master of the Wang family. Wang Baiyu was quite surprised too. He saw people fighting from a distance and found that it was Li Hu when he got closer. What surprised him was not Li Hu, but Han Fei. Wang Baiyu didn't expect that Han Fei could be on par with Li Hu. This guy was very different. With a cold face, Li Hu put away his knives, jumped to his fishing boat, and left quickly. Li Hu stood on the bow of the boat. Boy, no matter who you are, pray to the sea god. I'll make you die a horrible death. Han Fei said, Idiot, if you dare to come again, I'll send you to the sea god. Wang Baiyu was stunned. This man was so fierce. Why didn't he know that there was a man who dared to fight Li Hu in the Heavenly Water Village? Wang Baiyu asked Han Fei. What a coincidence. Why did you fight Li Hu? Han Fei still owed Wang Baiyu a favor. He shrugged and said, That idiot came to me and asked me to offer the fish to him. Do you think he's stupid? Wang Baiyu asked, You don't know? Han Fei asked, What do I know? Wang Baiyu said, The casualty rate. Why do you think the casualty rate of the fishing trial is so high? Han Fei asked, Isn't it because of the dangers during fishing? Wang Baiyu looked at Han Fei, lost for words. How is it possible? Even if there are dangers during fishing, it's still a minority. How can the casualty rate be so high? The real trial doesn't begin until the last 4 hours. Han Fei was surprised. What do you mean? Wang Baiyu said with a smile. In fact, the casualty rate of fishing is sometimes less than 10%. Most of the casualties are from the fights between the trial takers. Han Fei asked, Can the trial takers fight each other? Wang Baiyu said, Logically speaking, they can't, but they can on the day of the fishing trial. In the first 6 hours, everybody will fish peacefully, and nobody will cause trouble for each other. 4 hours before the trial begins, only the results of the 1st and the 10th will be announced, so that everybody can be prepared. The result of the 100th will be announced in the 6th hour. The result of the 1000th will be announced in the 4th hour, which is the most dangerous. When the result of the 1000th comes out, you will know, right? Those who don't have enough points will start to fight and loot. Han Fei asked, Why didn't I know? Isn't this rule a trap? Why did the school and the parents agree to it? Wang Baiyu was wondering why Han Fei didn't know it either, but he still explained, Because we are cultivators, and the ocean is cruel. Do you think the danger only comes from the water? No, it's very likely to come from your companions or other people who are going to rob you. This kind of thing is not uncommon in the Level 1 fishery and the Level 2 fishery. It's just that there is no need to fight for the points in the ordinary fishery. Han Fei took a deep breath. So, if I am strong enough, I don't actually need to fish but just rob? Wang Baiyu nodded. Theoretically, yes. What a loss, what a loss, Wang Baiyu asked, What loss? Han Fei said, That I let Li Hu go. Otherwise, all his points would be mine. Wang Baiyu. After that, Han Fei glanced at Wang Baiyu's fish cabin. Wang Baiyu's fish cabin must have a lot of points. Wang Baiyu. Brother Han. Han Fei said, Oh, it's nothing. I'm just taking a look. Right, why are you here, Brother Wang? Wang Baiyu smiled and said, I sensed spiritual waves in this place just now, so I came to take a look out of curiosity. I happened to run into Brother Han and Li Hu fighting. Wang Baiyu observed Han Fei again. Other people might not know, but he knew very well why Li Hu was so arrogant. With a tiger-head fish and the strength of a level 8 fisher, even he would have to be careful when dealing with him. He did not expect that Han Fei would be so tough as to confront him directly. But that was not what Han Fei was thinking. Even fishers could sense the waves of spiritual energy here? Does that mean I can't cheat anymore? Well, how could he play if he couldn't cheat? Was he going to rob them? That was not a bad idea. It was simple, violent, and effective. While he was thinking, Han Fei said, Oh, you're talking about spiritual energy fluctuations. I don't know. Maybe it's because I ran into a shoal of fish. But now the shoal is almost gone. I don't know where they went. Maybe I can find them nearby. Forget it. I'm going to rob them. Chapter 49. After parting with Wang Baiyu, Han Fei did not rob them immediately. Instead, he moved to another place and ran dozens of kilometers away. However, he did not dare to cheat again. If his guess was correct, Li Hu and the two inspectors were attracted by the spiritual waves too. Han Fei was certain that Feng Zhe must have sensed the spiritual waves here, but he was too lazy to come. Now that he was almost exposed, he couldn't use it anymore. The best thing to do now was to fish naturally and prepare to rob them. In the 6th hour, Han Fei's score had risen to 480 points because of the outburst of spiritual energy. At this moment, the village leader announced, "The first place in this fishing trial has 691 points, and the 10th place has 478 points. Keep it up, everyone." For the first time, Han Fei's score was in the 10th place. He should be in the 9th place. Since the robberies won't begin until the last 4 hours, I might as well fish first. Han Fei continued fishing, but it was much easier and less stressful. He even took out the barbecue that Li Gang prepared for him and enjoyed it. However, Han Fei still underestimated the people in the fishing trial. About half an hour after the 6th hour, 2 boats came to him. When the boats approached, one of the young men smiled and said, "Bro, hand over your points." The young man on the other boat said, "You'd better hand over all your points if you want to survive, or we'll feed you to the fish." Holding a roasted prawn in his hand, Han Fei stared at the young men on the boats and said, "You're really good at forming alliances?" One of the young men frowned. Looking at Han Fei's fearlessness, he wondered if he was a tough guy. But if he was tough, why was he fishing alone in such a remote place? Shouldn't he be robbing them? The young man said tentatively, "Why don't you join us and form an alliance? We'll split the spoils evenly. What do you think?" The other young man objected, "Why do we have to ally with him? You should look for someone from our school. We've never seen him before." Han Fei smiled. "That's right. You don't have to ally with me because you're already eliminated." After that, Han Fei jumped up and slashed at one of the young men. "You're shameless. You're ambushing." Clang, the young man spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. The young man's eyes were filled with fear. "Who the hell did I offend? I'm a peak level 6 fisher." But the rod just now seemed to have hit an adult ironhead fish. It couldn't be blocked at all, okay? Another young man was about to come over to help with his iron rod, but before he could take a step, his ally knelt down. Then, he was stunned. That guy was stronger than him, but he knelt down in one hit? Han Fei pointed the purple bamboo rod at the young man lazily and said, If you know what's good for you, move all the fish in your cabin to my cabin. I won't hurt you. Chances are that you'll have a chance to rob other people." The young man sweated. What the F***ck was going on? What happened to Finding Newbie? She was the first person they had snatched. He actually encountered the Great Demon King. Was this even appropriate? I'll carry it. The boy was about to cry. Why did they drive the fishing boat so close? There was no chance for him to run. Han Fei stopped fishing and chatted with the boy. "Which school are you from? What's his name?" The boy said. "North Campus, Song Jun." Han Fei asked, "Has the fight already begun outside?" Song Jun said, It's only just begun. Someone is already taking action." Han Fei said, Hey! Throw the little white fish before me, not into my cabin." Song Jun nervously threw the little white fish before Han Fei. Han Fei touched it and then tossed it into the ocean. Song Jun's face turned green. The little white fish were points too. Why did Han Fei throw it away? When Song Jun picked up the yellow fish, Han Fei said again, "Hey! Throw the yellow fish before me too." Song Jun. Then, Song Jun saw that the yellow fish was thrown into the ocean again, and he felt like 10,000 ironhead fish were crashing in his heart. "Brother, what are you doing? Aren't the little white fish points? The yellow fish is 3 points, isn't it?" Han Fei mumbled. "What can I do if such a big fish fills up my cabin with points?" Song Jun. Very soon, the cabins of Song Jun and the other boy were emptied. There were 10 blade fish and 24 green turtles in total. Han Fei frowned. Why are there so few blade fish? Why did you catch so many green turtles? They're so big that my cabin is almost full. Fine, you can continue. I'm leaving. Song Jun almost wished that Han Fei would leave as soon as possible. Look at how much he despised the green turtles. Each of them was worth 5 points. Han Fei sailed the boat to the crowded place unhurriedly. With one foot on the head of the boat, he felt that all he needed was a cigarette, a hat, and a blindfold. This feels great. No wonder the Somali pirates love robbing. It feels great. The site of the fishing trial wasn't large. It only had a radius of 100 square kilometers, but it was still relatively large for the 10,000 boats. But at this moment, at the edge of the sea, some boats were already forming alliances. The lone fishing boats that didn't have time to form alliances were undoubtedly the best targets for robbery. At this moment, the inspectors didn't really care about anything. The village leader heaved a long sigh. Alas, the annual slaughter has begun again. I only hope that those kids won't be so violent. Fang Zhe, on the head of Tang Ji's boat, felt nothing. He said lazily, "You need to learn how to plunder. The world above was much crueler than this place. Whoever's fist was bigger was the law. The hunter and the prey were completely dependent on one's choice. Look at those young men. They've fished for so long, only to be taken by someone else in the blink of an eye. They're just too weak. As for the alliance of 3 to 5 people, you'd better not learn this kind of thing. Maybe this kind of so-called alliance is useful for those below the realm of great fishing master, but as your strength gets stronger and stronger, the difference of a small realm will be huge. No matter how many people there are, kill them all." Tang Ji's face was gloomy. Although he knew that this would happen, he was too young to experience it. Just now, not far away from him, a student on a fishing boat was mercilessly killed and his body was thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Of course, cultivation was a bumpy road. He couldn't save others, but he wanted to look for Han Fei. Fang Zhe didn't stop him but said casually, "Okay, go ahead. You must learn the most important lesson." With that, Fang Zhe disappeared, leaving Tang Gu alone on the surface of the sea. There was not a single fishing boat within thousands of meters. On the periphery, Han Fei was surrounded again. He was alone. Han Fei was shocked. "Hey! Who are you?" Everybody burst into laughter when they saw Han Fei's cowardice. One of the girls said arrogantly, "You over there, if you hand over the fish in the cabin obediently, we might spare your life. Otherwise, prepare to die." Han Fei was horrified. "You have 4 boats. Who am I going to give them to? You can take them yourself, as long as you don't kill me." They looked at each other and realized that it did make sense. That was the disadvantage of an alliance. Every robbery had to be divided equally. So, they boarded Han Fei's boat with their stick. The moment they boarded, Han Fei suddenly picked up the purple bamboo rod. The girl who spoke slightly changed her expression. "Do you want to die?" I always thought that girls should be different from boys, but it seems that there is no difference at all. Do you think you're strong just because you've got a few people with you? Who gave you the courage to do this?" One of the boys' expressions changed greatly. "Not good. His cabin is full of blade fish." Immediately, all 4 of them changed their expression. What did it mean that his cabin was full of blade fish? It meant that this man was extremely tough. He was definitely a heavenly talent if so many knives didn't hurt him at all. The girl shouted, "Fight!" However, as soon as he shouted, a rod fell from the sky. The girl subconsciously raised the rod to block it. With a clang, the refined iron rod bent, and the girl was directly smashed into the boat. Her hand was already a bloody mess. The other 3 boys raised their rods at the same time. However, the purple bamboo rod surged with spiritual energy and swept away 2 boys who didn't have time to retreat. One of them fell into the sea, and the other flew back to his boat. Han Fei frowned. He didn't expect the boy to be so weak. He walked to the edge of the boat, intending to rescue him, but the boy was nowhere to be seen. The last boy ran back to his boat in fear, but before he controlled the boat, Han Fei had already stood on his boat. Chapter 50. Han Fei wandered on his own happily. He had dealt with 3 groups of people in the same way. At this moment, 5 of the 8 cabins on his boat had been filled. In the meantime, an inspector came to count the points. The inspector was stunned when the score was calculated. 1,012 points? It had only been 2 hours, and someone had already scored more than 1,000 points? In the 6th hour, Tang Gu, the first place, only had 691 points. This person was obviously not Tang Gu, but he had easily scored more than 1,000 points. If he could maintain such a score, he would definitely be among the top hundreds even if he did nothing else. About a moment later, the village leader's voice echoed again. There are 4 hours to go before the end of this fishing trial. So far, the first place has 1,431 points, the 10th has 966 points, the 100th has 552 points, and the 1,000th has 241 points. Keep up the good work, everyone. After the 4th broadcast, the whole sea area was seething. The score was increasing more and more crazily. In the blink of an eye, the top 10 had already scored more than 1,000 points. At this moment, those who had teamed up were looking for targets, and those who hadn't found allies either went to their allies or started to run to the edge of the trial field. Some people even activated the distress device on their boat and gave up the game when they saw a boat coming at them from afar. There were indeed a lot of people like that. Some level 6 fishers would fish in an empty corner and get hundreds of points. Then, they would end the trial as soon as they saw someone coming at them. There were many such cases in the past, but when the score was finally calculated, some of them could always make it to the top 1,000. But different from others, Han Fei wandered on his own, relying on his inexhaustible spiritual energy and his high level. But some people were different. Wang Baiyu and Li who were very different. They didn't move at all, but many boats came to them and offered all their gains to them. Wang Baiyu was similar to Han Fei. His Wang family had much more connections than the tigers, so he could wander while eating sea melon seed. Li Hu was different. Although some boats came to him to offer points, they were mostly the kids of the tigers. So, he knew that he couldn't rely on these people. He had to rob them himself. But Li Hu was different from Han Fei. Han Fei was waiting for others to rob his lonely fishing boat. Li Hu took the initiative to rob those fishing boats in groups of 3 or 5. Not only did he rob, but he also liked to kill people. Almost no one who encountered Li Hu could survive. He Xiaoyu was in a panic. Although she had made a breakthrough, she was no match for a pack of wolves. Just now, 3 boats came to rob her, but they underestimated He Xiaoyu's strength and were defeated by her. But because of this, He Xiaoyu's spiritual energy was exhausted too, and she had to take a spirit refilling pill. At this moment, she only had 1 spirit supplement pill left. At this moment, 4 boats approached from 4 directions. He Xiaoyu was desperate. Although she had just looted some points, could she survive this time? The last remaining supplement spirit pill absolutely could not be used in battle. He Xiaoyu was ready to fight. She had 2 plans. One was to defeat these 4 people, rob their points, and admit defeat after the last spirit refilling pill was used up. The other was to run to the periphery. After all, she still had a spirit supplement pill. If she used it, they might not be able to catch up with her. But when the boats were about to surround He Xiaoyu, a strong fish leaped out of the water, followed by a boat that was sailing at the highest speed. One of the fishing boats didn't pay attention to it and was approached by Li Hu. Li Hu stepped forward and slashed with 2 knives in his hands. The young man on the boat had multiple holes in his body when he raised his rod to fight back. As Li Hu drew out his daggers, the young man vomited blood crazily. He Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. She was so scared that her face turned pale at the violent killing. Someone on another boat shouted, "Run!" It's Li Hu from the tigers. Run. However, before he could finish his words, a ferocious tiger-headed fish appeared behind him. As the others cried out in alarm, he turned around and felt his vision go black. To be precise, his head was gone. Ah! Xiaoyu screamed. She was scared to see the headless body spurting blood. Li Hu frowned. Shut up. Xiaoyu hurried to pick up the bamboo rod, ready to run. But it was fine that she did not take the bamboo rod. After all, there were 2 other boats here. She might have a chance to escape. But Li Hu saw the bamboo rod immediately. He knew that it couldn't be a regular person who could afford it. He shouted, "Tiger Head, kill her!" At this moment, Xiaoyu was already controlling the boat to run, but the boat was not as fast as the tiger-headed fish. The big fish leaped out of the water again and charged at Xiaoyu. When Xiaoyu talked about the bamboo stick, spiritual light flashed on the stick, and the tip of the stick gathered. Li Hu roared, "Tiger Head, come back!" But in the blink of an eye, Xiaoyu was knocked back by the tiger head and hit the deck. Blood was flowing out of her mouth. Of course, the tiger-headed fish seemed to be slightly wounded too. But she did not dare to stay and hurried to flee on the boat. Li Hu had become a cold-blooded killer. You want to run after hurting the tiger head? Li Hu simply abandoned the other 2 people and went straight to Xiaoyu. The remaining 2 heaved a long sigh of relief and horror, but before they were relieved, 5 or 6 fishing boats had surrounded them from all directions. One of them said desperately, "Not good. They're from the tigers." Xiaoyu ran fast. She felt lucky that they did not fight just now, or she would have run out of spiritual energy. She would have been killed if she encountered Li Hu. The 2 boats were only a few hundred meters away from each other. Xiaoyu shouted while she ran, "Li Hu, do you know who my father is?" "My father is He Mingtang." Li Hu roared, "My father is Li Ju. What can you do to me even if I kill you?" Xiaoyu said, "You lunatic, I'll quit the trial if you keep chasing me." Li Hu said, "It will be too late when the inspectors come to save you." Xiaoyu felt wronged. Who did I piss off? Why are they chasing me? I'm already level 7, but I'm still being chased. Half an hour later, Xiaoyu's eyes glittered. She saw an expert from her school. "Qin Yi, help me!" The boy named Qin Yi was only at the peak of level 6. Seeing that Xiaoyu was being chased by Li Hu, he simply slipped away. "Do you think I dare to mess with the tigers?" Xiaoyu scolded, "Asshole!" On her way, Xiaoyu called for help whenever she met anyone, but the boats avoided her as if she were the plague. Nobody was willing to piss off Li Hu for her. Xiaoyu ran out of spiritual energy. She swallowed the last spirit-refilling pill without hesitation, and her spiritual energy was immediately replenished. At this moment, she saw Hu Kuan who was robbing someone else. She immediately cried, "Hun Kuan, help!" Hu Kuan had just reached level 7 yesterday, so he was bold enough to rob 2 boats on his own. Seeing that Xiaoyu was being chased and calling for help, he was surprised to see that someone was bold enough to rob this girl. "Shoot, Li Hu?" Hu Kuan's face slightly changed. He simply abandoned the remaining points and hurried to leave. Xiaoyu felt so wrong that her tears were about to fall. What kind of people are they? Was Li Hu so scary? Han Fei was basking in the sun. 6 of the 8 cabins were already full. He felt that there were too few cabins on the fishing boat and it would soon be full. But he was not in a hurry at all. When his boats were full, he could simply rob other people's boats. Han Fei sighed. "What a loss. There are so many fish, but I can't absorb them all. No, I must apply to take them back for barbecue. Well, they're all blade fish and they taste good." Swoosh! Han Fei shouted, "Hey hey! Bro, don't run. Let's form an alliance." This was the 3rd boat that slipped past Han Fei. He was lost for words. Did these people's spiritual energy cost nothing? They were not robbing him, but they were running so fast. Suddenly, he saw 2 boats coming at him quickly. Han Fei was immediately refreshed. Guests were coming. Did he have to pretend that he was running too? Han Fei immediately pretended to be injured and sped up the boat, pretending that he was also running away. They were getting closer and closer. Hey, isn't that He Xiaoyu? Oh, this girl is robbing me too? He Xiaoyu was hundreds of meters away from Han Fei when He Xiaoyu raised her hand and shouted, "Run, Han Fei, run now." Han Fei. He Xiaoyu was lost for words. Other people were running, but Han Fei ran into her. What should she do? Although Han Fei was strong, he was Li Hu. Chapter 51. His confidence came from his strength. Han Fei was not panicked at all. He was amused to see Li Hu who was chasing after him. Han Fei said, "He Xiaoyu, stop. Don't panic. Let's work together and kill him." He Xiaoyu was almost in tears. "Who are you going to kill?" He Xiaoyu said, "We can't beat him. He has a tiger headfish as a contractual spiritual pet. We can't defeat him." Han Fei asked, "Huh? What spiritual pet?" Li Hu was surprised too, not because he ran into Han Fei, but because he heard Han Fei's name. He seemed to be in trouble. Was this really Han Fei? He Xiaoyu controlled the boat, ready to escape at any moment. However, Han Fei stood at the head of the boat and shouted at Li Hu arrogantly, "Thief, give your boat to me now, or I won't go easy on you." Li Hu said gloomily, "Han Fei, there is no grudge between us. Since you are protecting her, I'll let her go." Han Fei said, "Bullsh *t, it's none of your business. You are now the fish on the chopping block, and I am the butcher. Give me your points, or I'll show you why corals are so red." He Xiaoyu was stunned. Since when was Han Fei so domineering? More importantly, Li Hu seemed to be scared of him. Li Hu said, "Han Fei, don't push your luck. Tengu won't stay in the heavenly water village forever. He can't protect you forever." Han Fei said, "It's none of your business. You can protect me now. Hurry up. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't want the tigers to be destroyed, you'd better give your points to me obediently." He Xiaoyu finally realized that Han Fei was domineering with Tang Ji's help. But she was no longer scared. "That's right. Do you dare to touch Han Fei?" Li Hu looked awful. He couldn't afford to piss off Tengu, nor could he afford to piss off Han Fei for now. But he secretly gestured at the sea and took a deep breath. "Han Fei, how about I give you half of my points?" Han Fei said, "What do you mean by that? Those are my points. Do you know what to say? They are all mine, not 1 point less." Holding back his anger, Li Hu said solemnly, "There are a lot of fish. Do you want to move them with me?" Han Fei was so angry that he laughed. "Didn't I tell you? Was your head hit by an iron headfish when you were a kid? I robbed you, and you want me to be a coolie? Throw the fish into my cabin yourself. I'm not in a hurry. I have plenty of time." He Xiaoyu jumped onto Han Fei's boat and whispered to Han Fei, "Be careful. He just killed quite a few people." Han Fei's face changed slightly. Even now, he didn't want to kill anyone. After all, they were all children. He couldn't bear to see them die in the sea at such a young age. He did not expect Li Hu to actually kill someone. Li Hu thought to himself, "Humph, so what? There's no one here, and Tengu is not here. If I kill him and He Xiaoyu here, who will know that I did it?" Holding back his fury, Li Hu continued to transfer points to Han Fei's fish cabin. Han Fei urged from time to time, "Why are you so slow? Didn't you eat?" Li Hu thought to himself, "If I wait a little longer, you won't have to leave." He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei, lost for words. The guy used to be taciturn, but he had changed after he fell into the sea last time. He Xiaoyu asked, "Han Fei, how many points do you have now?" Han Fei thought for a moment and said, "I don't know. I'm waiting for the inspectors to calculate it for me." At this moment, Li Hu suddenly said, "Han Fei, your fish cabins are all full." Han Fei answered without hesitation, "Oh, it's full." He Xiaoyu, do you have an empty cabin? He Xiaoyu's mouth was wide open. Didn't the fish cabins only happen to the top 10? Yes, yes, I have 4 empty cabins. Han Fei asked. If I put them in yours, they will count as my points, right? He Xiaoyu said, probably. Then, Han Fei pointed at Li Hu and said, then you move them to her cabin. Don't slack off. Hurry up. I'm going to rob them. Li Hu stuffed fish into He Xiaoyu's cabin without saying anything, but he was secretly shocked that the guy's cabin was all full of blade fish when he opened one of the cabins. How did he do it? He Xiaoyu asked timidly. How many points did you get in the last hour? Han Fei thought for a moment and said, I don't remember. I think I got more than 1,000 points. He Xiaoyu. Li Hu. At this moment the village leader's voice echoed in the sky. There are 2 hours to go before the end of the fishing trial. Keep it up, everybody. Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. Why didn't the village leader report the points? He Xiaoyu rolled her eyes. There's no need to report the points after the 1,000th place is reported. The points in the last 4 hours are chaotic, so it's not easy to calculate. Didn't you see that the inspectors are gone? They're not allowed to show up at this moment. They're all at the periphery. Han Fei blinked and said, Seriously? Isn't that an inspector? Han Fei pointed at a boat that was sailing close not far away. There was an inspector on it. It was easy to tell that the inspectors were all old, and this man seemed to be in his 30s. Who else could it be if not an inspector? Suddenly, Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Wait, we're surrounded. Han Fei saw black spots in the distance, and then looked around, only to see at least dozens of fishing boats approaching from all directions. Ah! Han Fei, it's time for you to die. Even if he's Tang Ji's brother, so what? Since he's not here, why should I kill you? Shocked, He Xiaoyu said in a hurry, Let's run. Run? Han Fei's lazy expression suddenly disappeared, and he showed a trace of fierceness. On the sea, they were all on the same fishing boat. Where could they run to? Kill the leader first. I'll kill you first. Han Fei suddenly attacked with the purple bamboo rod in his hand. Spiritual energy gushed out from the purple bamboo rod and went straight to Li Hu's face. Li Hu sneered, Do you think you're Tango? I'm not even scared of Tango. Li Hu's rod surged with spiritual energy too, and he smashed at Han Fei brutally. Stop! The inspector's voice came 1,000 meters away, which confirmed that something was wrong with the inspector, because the inspector couldn't do anything about it. Han Fei's eyes were cold, and he did not hold back at all. His spiritual energy storage of 279 points was not a joke. The higher the upper limit, the stronger his body would be. Clang bm. To He Xiaoyu's surprise, Li Hu was blown away by the attack and crashed into the cabin. Pooh! Li Hu vomited blood crazily, and his arms seemed to be broken. Li Hu was shocked. How is it possible? How can he be so strong? How can I, a level 8 fisher, be no match for him? Before Li Hu realized what was going on, Han Fei had jumped. Li Hu was appalled. If he had been hit, he would have been heavily wounded if not killed. Tiger head attach. Huh! Han Fei turned around, and an ugly 3-meter-long fish darted into Li Hu's body as fast as lightning. What the hell? However, Li Hu's body suddenly swelled up. His face was ferocious, and the spiritual energy on the surface of his body became denser. The shadow of a big fish appeared. He Xiaoyu said, Be careful. He's merged with his pet. His combat ability will be much higher. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Then I'll smash him a few more times. I told you to stop. The inspector was coming at him in a hurry, but Han Fei ignored him and smashed his rod again. This time, the tip of the purple bamboo rod glittered. Han Fei had used spiritual energy explosion. Li Hu was so furious that he had to deal with the power of spiritual energy explosion carefully even though he had become stronger. He gathered all his spiritual energy and launched spiritual energy explosion too. Explode BM. 2 cabins on Li Hu's boat were blown up by the blast of spiritual energy explosion. Li Hu, on the other hand, was bleeding from his eyes, nose, mouth. He could barely hold the rod anymore. He felt that his hands were broken. Han Fei, on the other hand, jumped back and launched another spiritual energy explosion from the purple bamboo rod. Li Hu was greatly shocked. "Don't kill me! Don't kill me!" Han Fei was not an idiot. If he did not take down Li Hu now, it would be too late later. But when the purple bamboo rod was about to hit Li Hu, a big fish seemed to leap out of Li Hu's body. Bam! Bam! Chapter 52. He's not dead. Han Fei was shocked. He knew very well how powerful his attack was. It was more than 1,000 kilograms. He was confident that even a level 9 fisher wouldn't dare to resist it if he exerted his full strength. However, the fish was still alive after being hit by it. "Little bastard, I told you to stop." Han Fei failed to kill Li Hu in 3 attacks, and the inspector was already 30 meters away. Han Fei's eyes were cold. He decided to kill the inspector. When the inspector's boat was closer, he jumped to it in a hurry. But the moment the inspector jumped to the sky, Han Fei jumped back and activated spiritual energy explosion on the purple bamboo rod again. Audacious! How dare you? Of course, there were strong and weak inspectors. Apart from the 4 major schools, even the inspectors and law enforcers were mostly level 9 fishers or peak-level fishers. In Han Fei's eyes, this inspector couldn't be a fishing master. If he was, he could have attacked from 100 meters away, but he didn't, which meant that he was at most a peak-level fisher. So, Han Fei decided to try his best. Explode! You're out of your mind, air billowed in midair, and Xiaoyu was blown back a couple of steps by the airwaves. Plop! After an explosion, both of them fell into the sea. Han Fei. Xiaoyu's face was pale, and her head went blank. It was not a joke for a fisher to fall into the sea. There were no fishing masters here, and they were almost dead. The person who was the most shocked was the patrol inspector. He was completely dumbfounded. Does this young man want to perish together with me? Why did he use spiritual energy explosion 4 times? But there was no time for him to think. The moment he fell into the sea, he hurried to cover himself with a spiritual energy protective cover. Hardly had he stabilized himself when a green light smashed at him. Gudu the inspector was appalled. He was smashed dozens of meters into the water, and his chest was punched out by Han Fei. He was shocked. Who was this young man exactly? Why was he so strong? But it was not the time to think about that. The inspector hurried to float up. He saw blade fish swimming by and snakebelt far away. However, Han Fei was right above him. At this moment, he grinned, revealing his white teeth. This was the first time Han Fei had used the wandering dragon art. Although he was not familiar with it, it was completely different from before. In the water, he was like a fish, rolling and moving easily. Not good. Seeing that Han Fei was swimming over, the inspector hurriedly waved his rod, and the rod cut through the seawater. Unfortunately, his movements were too slow, and he only saw a cold light flash past his wrist. The rod slipped out of the inspector's hand and blood gushed out of his wrist. Han Fei glanced at the approaching snakebelt and gave up the chase. He waved at the inspector. On the surface of the sea, Xiaoyu was still staring at the surface of the sea, and not far away, dozens of boats were coming as fast as they could. Ha! Ha ha! Cough cough! You can't escape. Shut up! Do you believe that I will throw you into the sea right now? Li Hu said, No, you can't kill me. Even if I'm heavily injured, you can't kill me. Falling into the sea, he won't be able to survive, ha ha ha. Bang! Hardly had Li Hu finished his sentence when Han Fei broke out of the water and landed on the deck. Li Hu asked, How? How is it possible? How are you still alive? Xiaoyu cried in joy. Han Fei, are you alright? You scared me. I thought you were dead. Woo woo. Holding the purple bamboo rod, Han Fei looked at the surface of the sea and said calmly, The inspector happened to run into the snakebelt after he fell into the water. TSK. I saw the snake belt crawl into his mouth with my own eyes. Tisk, ew, imagining the picture, Xiaoyu was so disgusted that she almost threw up. Li Hu's face changed greatly. He pointed at Han Fei, trembling. You dare to kill the inspector? Han Fei said, which eye of yours saw me kill the inspector? After staring for a while, Han Fei saw that nothing was happening on the surface of the sea. It seemed that the inspector couldn't come up anymore. So, he walked to Li Hu in relief and said, Tsk. If it weren't for points, I would have killed you right now. Then, Han Fei raised his rod and smashed it, and the tiger-head fish that were still alive charged at Han Fei. Explode, Han Fei seemed to have seen it coming. He performed spiritual energy explosion again and smashed the tiger-head fish to the deck again. Bam! 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 Han Fei raised the purple bamboo rod and smashed it with such force that even the deck was smashed. Finally, the big fish was beaten half to death. Li Hu shuddered at the scene. That was a tiger-head fish. It was a rare species in the general fishery and the level 1 fishery, but it had been deformed by Han Fei and was dying. Tiger-head, Han Fei was about to smash it again, when the tiger-head fish turned into a streak of light and landed on Li Hu's wrist, condensing into the shape of a fish. Han Fei looked at Xiaoyu in surprise. Is the fish so tough? It's still alive? Xiaoyu said, that's the power of the contract. The tiger-head fish was dying, but Li Hu recalled it into his body. However, when the contract beast is wounded, the contract partner will be wounded too. Han Fei looked at Li Hu, only to discover that the guy was vomiting blood non-stop. Han Fei was rather lost for words. How could such a big fish be stored into his body? Wouldn't it be the same as his calabash? No wonder Li Ju, the leader of the tigers, could dominate the level 1 fishery. It would be hard for anyone to die with such a fish. Thief, let go of my young master. How dare you attack the young master of the tigers? Do you want to die? You've been surrounded. Let go of my young master if you don't want to die. Looking at the dozens of boats that surrounded him, Han Fei picked up the crippled Li Hu and said to them, Give me your points or I'll cripple him. How dare you give me the points of the black tigers? Ah! One of Li Hu's hands was broken, and he screamed miserably. Han Fei asked, Did I not make myself clear, or do you have bad ears? Li Hu said, What are you waiting for? Give it to him. Han Fei said, Fill that boat too. Pointing at Xiaoyu's boat, Han Fei turned around and said to Xiaoyu, We're classmates after all. I'll cover for you. Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. Wasn't Han Fei too ferocious? But Han Fei was truly awesome. Li Hu, a level 8 fisher who owned a tiger-head fish, was crippled, the fake inspector died miserably, and he robbed a dozen boats at once. Was he still the Han Fei she knew? Han Fei left 2 boats, which were packed to the brim. After the cabins of the dozen boats were completely emptied, Han Fei patted Li Hu's face lazily and said, I'm out of the game. Li Hu's face slightly changed. There's only half an hour left. You're asking me to quit the game? Are you trying to stop me from participating in the talent awakening? Gotcha, ah. Han Fei broke Li Hu's leg with the rod and grinned. Do you need me to repeat myself? Li Hu's eyes were filled with fear. He realized that Han Fei was not as ruthless as the rumors said. He was a ruthless person, a very ruthless person. If he refused, he might really be fed to the fish in the sea. Li Hu gnashed his teeth. I'm out. When the real inspector came, he was shocked to see how miserable Li Hu was. Was he still the brutal and domineering young master of the tigers? Before he left, Li Hu glared at Han Fei. Han Fei said, What are you looking at? I'll gouge out your eyes if you keep looking. Tell your father that you wasted 10 of my spirit refilling pills. Let him deal with it. Li Hu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and blood flowed out of his mouth. But he had to hold back his fury. If Han Fei asked Tang Ge to deal with the tigers, he would be doomed. After Li Hu was dragged away, Xiaoyu finally asked, Why? Why didn't you? Han Fei said lazily. As long as he's alive, his father won't hesitate to do anything. On the other side, Tanggu and Wang Baiyu ran into each other. Tanggu said, "Give me your points and I won't kill you." Wang Baiyu sweated hard. "How did I run into this guy in a fishery with a range of 100 kilometers? Wang Baiyu said in a hurry. "Tanggu, Han Fei and I are good friends. Right? He owes me a favor." Tanggu frowned. If I learn that you lied to me," Wang Baiyu said, "last time Han Fei was set up and drifted on the sea for 5 days and 5 nights, I met him and saved him." "Say that again?" Infuriated, Tanggu pointed the golden rod at Wang Baiyu. Wang Baiyu said, "Everybody in the port knows about it. I don't know who did it, but the port has been investigating it. I think Han Fei knows what he's doing." Tanggu put down the rod. "So to speak, Han Fei does owe you a favor. But if I let you go, the favor will be gone." Chapter 53. Speaking of which, in the last hour, everyone went crazy. Those who had enough points wanted to get more points so that they could get a better rank in the spiritual awakening. Those who had average points hoped to make it to the top 100, and those who didn't have enough points were those who had been robbed. They were unwilling to give up and wanted to take it back. However, there was only half an hour left in the fishing trial. Who dared to stay on the field? Those who had been robbed couldn't get any benefits at all. More importantly, the alliances at the beginning of the trial were collapsing. Originally, these people's fishing boats were all tied together. Some people were stabbed by their allies next to them accidentally, some people robbed them openly, and some people suddenly unleashed their hidden strength, killing other members of the alliance and pocketing all the points. Therefore, more and more people quit the trial, especially those who still had a lot of points after their alliances collapsed. Many of them simply chose to end the trial. Of course, there was also another situation, which was that the alliances were getting larger and larger, led by one of them. Some even gathered a dozen boats. Usually, such people were heavenly talents who promised all kinds of benefits to other people. Among them, the most typical one was Xia Wushuang from the West Campus, who had a level 4, low-quality spiritual heritage. He was undoubtedly a heavenly talent who was bound to soar. Therefore, many people wanted to suck up to him and help him fight for points. On Han Fei's side, the two of them occupied 4 boats that were full of points. Anybody's eyes would be green with envy. If the people from the East Campus saw Han Fei and He Xiaoyu, they would have run away immediately. However, Xia Wushuang was not from the East Campus. He was from the West and didn't know Han Fei at all. Although Xia Wushuang knew that Han Fei and He Xiaoyu might be strong, they couldn't be more than level 8. He was level 8 himself, and he had a dozen lackeys with him. Wouldn't the two of them fight for the points? He Xiaoyu had been fine ever since she hung out with Han Fei. She felt that it wouldn't be a problem for her to make it to the top 100. She was eating sea melon seeds at this moment. Suddenly, He Xiaoyu shouted, "A fleet is coming." Han Fei said, "I saw it. It's a huge package." He Xiaoyu. Han Fei smiled and handed over a spirit refilling pill. "You take care of the small fries. I'll take care of the strongest ones." He Xiaoyu jumped to her feet. "There are a dozen minions, but only one of them is the strongest. He Xiaoyu, you are a level 7 fisher after all. Can't you bear some pressure?" He Xiaoyu pouted. "Even a dozen level 5 fishers can exhaust a level 7 fisher to death, alright? What's more, I've just entered the 7th level, and I don't have your innate divine strength. How am I supposed to fight you?" Han Fei was lost for words. "Forget it. Half each. Is that okay?" He Xiaoyu said, "The strongest one is yours." He Xiaoyu, let me tell you, you can't become an expert like this. He Xiaoyu said, "I don't need to be an expert. I just want to be a great fishing master. My father wants me to be a great fishing master because I'm destined not to be one. After that, I'll be free." Han Fei sweated. "He Xiaoyu, your idea is very dangerous." He Xiaoyu said, "I don't care. You're stronger than me anyway. You can even kill inspectors. You're at least as strong as a level 9 fisher. Then, He Xiaoyu looked up at the sky. Han Fei was only a level 2 fisher a month ago. It had only been a few days, but he was already strong enough to fight level 9 fishers. If Tengu was a monster, was Han Fei a monster too? Han Fei suggested, how about we defeat them one by one? He Xiaoyu asked, how can we defeat them one by one? They'll definitely attack together. Why don't we end the trial? I think you're good enough to be in the top 10. Han Fei said angrily, if I'm in the top 10, why can't I be in the top 3? There's no reward except for the top 3. He Xiaoyu said, actually there is. According to the rules, the top 10 can choose a battle technique. Han Fei said in disdain, what good battle technique can there be in our village? I'd better be in the top 3. He Xiaoyu almost wanted to smack the guy into the ocean. She was so nervous, but the guy was still bragging. Xiao Wushuang stood at the bow of the boat with his hands behind his back, looking at them casually. When the boat approached, Xiao Wushuang looked at Han Fei curiously and asked, I'm curious. Why didn't you run? Han Fei said, we didn't have enough hands to sail the boat, or we would have run away. Xiao Wushuang asked, have you been robbed? Han Fei suddenly said angrily, can't you be more respectful? Xiao Wushuang. Han Fei said, let go of your hand. How can you keep your hand behind your back when you're talking to him? Xiao Wushuang. He Xiaoyu. He Xiaoyu was almost crying. He's already in front of you. Just fight him. What are you talking about? Xiao Wushuang said, hand over your points and I'll spare your life. Han Fei asked, are you in the top 3 in terms of points now? Xiao Wushuang. Xiao Wushuang was lost for words. Why did he feel that he couldn't communicate with this guy? Can we talk nicely? Xiao Wushuang said patiently, not yet. Han Fei's eyes immediately glittered. Then give me your points. I'm not bad. Xiao Wushuang. Xiao Wushuang said gloomily, it seems that you don't want to give them to me? Han Fei said, I'll give them to you. Xiao Wushuang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It would be best if they didn't have to fight. He didn't want to fight with the person in front of him, because he saw the traces of a fierce battle on this ship, and the intensity of the battle was very high, which meant that this person's strength was definitely not low. However, in the next second, Han Fei said, I'll give you a hammer. Before Xiao Wushuang realized what was going on, Han Fei had jumped up, and the purple bamboo rod flashed with spiritual energy. Explode! Xiao Wushuang's face changed greatly. Spiritual energy explosion could only be used by fishers above level 7. More importantly, why did he feel that the spiritual energy was even denser than when he used it? Xiao Wushuang hurriedly tried to block it with his rod, but he forgot that he didn't hold the rod in his hand just now. Immediately, Xiao Wushuang stomped hard and tried to bounce back. Behind Xiao Wushuang, the 4 level 6 fishers realized what was going on and hurriedly fought back with their rod. With a BM, all 4 of them collapsed to the ground, and one of them even passed out, his body still twitching. Everybody on Xiao Wushuang's side was stunned. They had no idea which expert they had pissed off. Instead of waiting for them to counterattack, Han Fei landed on Xiao Wushuang's boat and stomped hard at Xiao Wushuang. At this moment, Xiao Wushuang was greatly shocked. His hand had just touched his rod, but he was still in midair. The only thing he could do was to block it with his rod. Clang! Xiao Wushuang's body smashed the cover of the boat and fell into the fish cabin, leaving a mouthful of blood in midair. Han Fei stood calmly next to the fish cabin and said, I told you not to pretend to be cool. You should be polite and treat others equally. Who gave you the courage to put your hands behind your back when you're facing an enemy? With a roar in the cabin, a flash of spiritual energy flashed, and Xiao Wushuang ejected at Han Fei. BM, Xiao Wushuang was smashed into the fish cabin again. Han Fei said, Stop shouting. You used spiritual energy explosion before you stabilized your body. Is this what your teacher taught you? Not far away, the other young men who were about to surround him all stopped, and some tried to sneak back to their boat. Han Fei raised his rod and pointed it at the guy. If you dare to run one more step, I'll break your legs and throw you into the ocean. The young man put on a gloomy face and dared not run any more, but he was terrified. It was Xia Wushuang. A level 4, low-quality fisher with a level 8 spiritual heritage was knocked down by 2 strikes. Who was this guy? Not caring what they were thinking, Han Fei shouted to He Xiaoyu, "He Xiaoyu, collect your points." He Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. She had been ready for a fierce battle, but how long had it been? The battle was over before I even had a chance to jump on their boat? Pooh, who are you? Xia Wushuang grabbed the fish cabin with both hands and looked at Han Fei with his mouth full of blood. Han Fei said solemnly, "I'm the person you can't beat." Xia Wushuang. Chapter 54. Xia Wushuang's trial ended early for no other reason than that he had lost all his combat ability and that his subordinates, who were at the peak of level 6, had been knocked down. The remaining level 5 fishers would be lucky if they didn't get robbed themselves. At this moment, Han Fei said to He Xiaoyu in distress on the deck, "We can't drive away with so many boats." He Xiaoyu said, "With so many boats here, nobody will dare to rob you. They've all been scared away." Han Fei asked, "He Xiaoyu, do you think we're the first place now?" He Xiaoyu said, "Yes, you're the first place. I think you're below the 100th place." Speaking of that, He Xiaoyu was rather angry. The battle had ended before she could do anything, so she was too embarrassed to ask Han Fei to give her a boat or 2. Han Fei said, "That won't do. I think I have too many points. I'll give you 2 boats. Then you'll be in the top 100. He Xiaoyu's eyes glittered. "Did you say that?" Immediately, He Xiaoyu was about to pick up a boat with a smile, exclaiming now and then. Han Fei said, "Green turtles, yellow fish, take whatever you want. Don't take too many blade fish." He Xiaoyu. It was almost dusk and the enormous sun seemed to be hanging on the surface of the sea. One step forward and he would be able to walk into it. Sitting on the deck and watching the sun, Han Fei mumbled, "There's no wine. There's no smoke." What is smoke? He Xiaoyu had already picked a boat. She felt that she would definitely be in the top 100. As for the top 3, she wouldn't pursue it, nor was she capable of it. Han Fei asked, "Have you found that this world is very beautiful?" He Xiaoyu asked, "Isn't it? My father said that the bottom of the sea is beautiful and that there are thousands of colors. I really want to see it." Han Fei rolled his eyes at her. "You good for nothing. Have you never appreciated such a big sun? What's so beautiful about the sun?" Han Fei said with a smile, "Have you never wondered why there is such a big sun? Don't you find it amazing? What is it that attracts such a huge sun? What is it that prevents the sun from crashing into us?" He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei as if he were an idiot. "Of course it's the sea god. Lord Sea God grabbed the brightest star in the darkness, and that was how the sun came to be." Han Fei. "Haha, why doesn't he go to heaven?" He Xiaoyu said, "Don't speak ill of the sea god. The sea god created the ocean, brought us light, and created all the beauty in the world." He Xiaoyu, have you ever seen a rainbow? He Xiaoyu. Han Fei immediately grabbed the kettle and said to He Xiaoyu, "Look at the sky." Han Fei grabbed the kettle and took a big gulp. Then, he sprayed water into the sky. Puff, puff, puff. He Xiaoyu stared blankly at Han Fei who was spraying water. She pitied him. He seemed to have lost his mind. Am I going to become the Han Fei from a month ago again? Suddenly, He Xiaoyu looked at the mist in shock and rubbed her eyes hard, her mouth wide open. Han Fei said, "Shut up. What are you yelling for?" He Xiaoyu pulled Han Fei and pointed at the sky. Colorful divine light, it can lead to the sea god's domain," Han Fei said. "Shut up. You're so uneducated." Han Fei waved his hand in the air until the rainbow was gone before he said, "It's called a rainbow. It's caused by the dispersion and reflection of the water droplets in the sky when sunlight hits them. Forget it. You won't understand it anyway. It's called a rainbow." He Xiaoyu looked at Han Fei, her eyes glittering. "No, it's colorful divine light." "Han Fei, you can create colorful divine light? Tell me honestly, did you see the sea god at the bottom of the ocean a month ago?" Han Fei said, "Damn you." He Xiaoyu wanted to argue, but Han Fei suddenly interrupted her. "Look, a boat is coming." The fishing trial was almost over. When the passing boats saw Han Fei's boat, they all wanted to run away with their boats, but at this moment, a few boats came straight at them. Both Han Fei and He Xiaoyu were curious as to who was so courageous as to walk into the trap. Han Fei said, "Get ready. Let's loot them." He Xiaoyu nodded. "Okay." When the fishing boat approached, Han Fei saw Tangu, and Tangu saw Han Fei too. He Xiaoyu jumped to her feet and waved her hands. "Tangu, over here." When Tangu approached, he was dumbfounded to see the fishing boat. "Han Fei, what's going on?" Han Fei said, "Oh, I looted them." Tangu raised his head in disbelief. "You looted them? I've only been away for 20 days, and you're telling me that you're capable of looting so many boats in the fishing trial?" He Xiaoyu snorted. "It's all because of the treasures you left." "Tangu, how many good things did you leave for him? It's only been a month, and he's already able to kill an inspector." "Did I leave a lot of things?" "No, what? An inspector? Who killed an inspector?" Han Fei almost wanted to stuff He Xiaoyu's big mouth into the fish cabin. "Damn it. You've just met and you've exposed everything." Han Fei put his arm around Tang Ji's neck and pulled him aside. "Don't be surprised. I had other opportunities besides the things you left. When you weren't around, I was ambushed and stayed on the sea for 5 days and 5 nights. After that, I met a white-bearded old man who insisted on imparting a cultivation technique to me. I didn't want it, but he insisted. This is really—" Han Fei's words contained too much information, but Tangu simply skipped the so-called opportunities and asked angrily, "Who tried to ambush you?" Han Fei chuckled and said, "It's not a big deal for me. Don't forget that I told others that you left me a lot of treasures, which is why I was able to advance so quickly." Tangu nodded and said, "Okay, don't stand out too much. But killing an inspector is a big deal. Why did you?" Han Fei said, "He must have been a traitor that the tigers planted among the inspectors. His level was not high, and I dragged him into the sea when he was unprepared. Then, he was trapped by the snake belt. So, I wasn't the one who killed him." Tangu was shocked. "You fell into the sea? Were you hurt?" Han Fei said, "I'm fine." Tangu said gloomily, "The tigers are truly bold. Don't worry. I'll teach them a lesson when we return." Han Fei said unconcernedly, "Forget it. I'll take care of it myself." "Right, are you at home tonight? If you are, I'll teach you the combat technique." In the clouds, Feng Zhe shook his head. What white-bearded old man? What combat technique? What could he possibly meet in a small place like the Heavenly Water Village? However, the young man must have had a fortuitous encounter to advance from a level 2 fisher to a level 7 fisher. But that was not a big deal. What was even more unbelievable was that someone once became a hidden fisher from a fisherman in the city. It was an indescribable sight. Han Fei said casually, "Let me tell you, this combat technique is called the Incomplete Monograph on 108 Ways of Body Polishing." "What did you say?" Feng Zhe's sudden appearance gave all 3 of them a fright. He Xiaoyu was stunned and panicked. "Gee, Master Angel." Han Fei was much better than He Xiaoyu, but he pretended to be surprised and said respectfully, "It's an honor to meet you, Master Angel." Feng Zhe nodded and asked solemnly, "What's the name of the technique you mentioned just now?" Han Fei said, "The Incomplete Monograph on 108 Ways of Body Polishing." Feng Zhe said, Tell me more about what happened to the old man that night. Han Fei made up a story. I was cultivating that night and felt that I was about to make a breakthrough, but I felt that I was not there yet. Then, a white-bearded old man suddenly appeared in front of me and said that my body was too weak. So, he pressed his hand on my forehead and I learned it. Feng Zhe said, Divine Enlightenment Technique, top-notch body tempering technique. You actually encountered a venerable realm powerhouse. Kid, your luck is truly 1 in a million. Han Fei asked in a daze, How strong is a venerable expert? Is he as strong as Master Angel? Feng Zhe chuckled. You'd better not know about it at your level. All you need to know is that venerables are the top experts in the infinite ocean. Right? Did you say the incomplete monograph? This technique is incomplete? Han Fei said, There are only 108 postures. It's extremely difficult to cultivate, but it's very effective. Feng Zhe said, Of course. Tengu, let's stay in the Heavenly Water Village for a few more days. You must learn the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Tengu hesitated. Well, the Venerable taught Han Fei the technique. Would it be inappropriate for me to learn it rashly? Feng Zhe said, That's fine. The Venerable only taught him the most basic way to train his body. It's obvious that he gave it to him casually. If he learns all the techniques, we can't take them even if he gives them to us. Then, Feng Zhe looked at Han Fei up and down. Why would the Venerable give pointers to an ordinary fisherman? Could it be that there was some kind of unseen potential in this kid?